All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number
Wow.
one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics are Local. So, as you all know, this is an extra week for us. So, we're going to have a number of things that are, we're going to talk about a number of things that are in the news. And so, Zaid's going to come through. We're going to give you this rundown, and then we're going to come on with our first guest. So, let's add Zaid.
Very quickly, we got a loaded show tonight, as always. At just a few minutes, uh, two incredible black women over in the People's Republic of Brooklyn who are rumbling really hard on this whole thing we call deed theft. It is real, right? Evangeline Bias has created the Stop the Deed Theft Coalition, and they have really made some important noise on an ugly battle that is happening with particularly a lot of our elders, but not exclusively our elders, but a lot of our elders are coming under attack for them in their homes. Just like they stealing land in Gaza, they're trying to steal land in our hoods and jack up their value and get us up out of the way. It's called ethnic cleansing. It's the other way to put it. Evangeline Byers of Stop the D Theft Coalition is going to join us with a sister who's trying to survive D theft. Her name is Carmela Carrington, who actually got sent to Rikers. Talk about some blaming the victim stuff. Check this conversation we get ready to have in a few. 7 o'clock, Marquis Lewis, young man who's been on this airwaves a number of times and has literally grew up doing what he's doing since he was a teenager, and we've known him for that long, is going to be one of the candidates in the upcoming June 2nd election that will elect the next slate of what we call Essex County Commissioners, formerly known as the Essex County Freeholders. And at 8 o'clock, we'll have a report live from Delany Hall, battleground that is Delany Hall right now over ICE and the racist ethnic cleansing of immigrant deportation and abuse that is going on, right? And we were looking forward to having back the great DJ Rhino to wrap up our show uh, in the last half hour or so. So it's always a full night, and we're ready to ride.
And Zai, who's going to be joining us live from Delaney Hall? You know?
Ryan Novaleski, who actually is a labor organizer, who's key to what's happening in the battles over at University Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I have some other. I invited some other folks. I don't know if they can actually get on. Charlene Walker may come back on. Kathy O'Leary, who gave us a report from a couple of weeks ago, may get back on. But Ryan is the key person that's going to be getting on at 8 o'clock. So we need to look for all of. If we see some other voices, that'll be theirs.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So we've got our first guest. You want to do the introduction?
Evangeline Byers, and she's not alone. In a minute, she'll be joined by Carmela Carrington. Right, Evangeline has done some, is doing, as it has done. It's not in the past tense. I'm going to put it in the present tense. Is doing some hugely important noise making in the People's Republic of Brooklyn, and not just Brooklyn. It's not exclusive to Brooklyn, but things sharpened. The contradiction really sharpened in Brooklyn around this whole question of deed theft. Fierce young organizer that I just met a little while ago, right? But I'm glad I did, and I'm glad she's doing what she's doing. And she's going to be joined by Carmela Carrington, as I said a little while ago, who's somebody who's trying to survive the ordeal of deed theft. And it's even had to face the ugly, daunting specter that had been sent to Rikers Island trying to fight for her own home. Can't make this stuff up. Can't make it up. Evangeline, how are you, dear Queen? How are you today? Can you hear us?
Oh, sorry, we got cut off for a second. I'm doing well.
I don't know if you heard. Did you hear the intro I tried to give you?
Yes, yeah. I heard it. I'm here. So
Okay.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. There's a lot going on.
Yes. Take a beat. Catch your breath. and I want you to unpack
Mhm.
what we are talking about when we're talking about this thing called D theft. And this is something that's not one dimensional as some will try to make it to
Right.
minimize the issue, right? Take a beat,
Mhm.
catch your breath, because I know you're in between moves that you're making, and we got some
Yes.
wild you're making in Newark. I'll tell you about them in a minute. And you just got a serious shout out from Principal Baruti Kafele, who heard you on the open line, right? So folks are tuning in and definitely want to hear what you have.
Okay.
But take your catch your breath, and let's talk about the multi-dimensional character. What we're talking about with D theft is.
Yes.
Get into it.
So D theft is definitely multidimensional. And I think this is a great day to have this discussion, and that the mayor has just fired the sheriff that was under the Adams administration, has now brought in Edmund Raymond, who is now the sheriff,
Is she breaking
and
up?
which is very important to this.
Yeah, she's having some issues with her
Can
phone.
you hear me?
You have Evangeline, I want you to do
Can
this
you?
thing. You breaking up and you about to drop a bomb.
Mhm.
I hear what you're trying to say, but we're not
Okay,
hearing you. Go out and try and come back in.
come back in. Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. We got you, okay?
And it looks like her girlfriend in the back, Carmela, her device is having some issues connecting.
Oh, they may be both. Who knows? They probably on their way to something together.
Yeah. So, because I see she's trying, but it keeps coming up. It says device not connected.
And I don't have a. Yeah, all right.
So maybe we can ask the other sister if she could just reach out to her
Yeah.
because she seemed to be having some problems. But Zai, this is actually an old story
Oh
because
yeah.
because I remember some time ago when Bob was on the air and he was dealing with this matter.
Does it sound better?
Much better. Much better. Much better.
Okay, perfect. So
Carmela's having some issues trying to join. She's having some issues with her connection.
okay, she's probably not used to StreamYard, and she has an iPhone, so
Oh.
yeah, she'll get on. Somebody will help her.
Okay. All right.
But in the meantime, I don't want us to lose this
Right.
the opportunity to talk, especially to this audience. It's a very special audience, and so the mayor has just fired the Sheriff Miranda, and has brought in Edmund Raymond. Edmund Raymond was, during stop and frisk, one of the officers that went against the NYPD and exposed the whole system of quotas and how they were targeting Black folks in this whole campaign of stop and frisk. So it was his work that led to a lot of the changes and the things that we saw happen around stop and frisk. And so him coming on and now being...
Hold on. I want to put a big... All right? You may not know this, but I run a statewide coalition against police brutality. And I remember when the word came out about when this young brother was trying to, make that noise, right?
Correct.
It is so rare that you see someone dare to be a whistleblower, survive the abuse and the consequences of being a whistleblower, and still keep his or her job. He is not a sheriff.
He is now the sheriff. And why this is groundbreaking, why this is groundbreaking and makes us hopeful, although we always have to be watchful, why this makes us hopeful is that what has happened in New York City, a lot of people use the words like gentrification, but what we're seeing is not so much as of gentrification, but it is a political betrayal. And what has happened to our community, the epicenter of D theft in New York State, Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant community, was a political hit that started with Judge John L. Phillips that became the blueprint for deed theft. And then the elected officials that had those seats after the Alvans moved off the scene started to implement a system by which they sold out the community to developers and to develop, corporate interests for their own political gain. And what has happened now is that they sort of line and stack the cards against themselves. And now that the community has changed based off of the gatekeepers letting in anyone who would pay top dollar, now their political survival hangs in the balance. And so now everybody wants to start talking about deed theft. But I want to be clear that it is because Mayor Zohran Mamdani is the mayor of New York City right now that we now have the most progressive administration to do anything on deed theft. And so this Edwin Raymond is important because under Sheriff Miranda, there was supposed to be deed theft investigations and they were not happening. When asked for data, he could not produce the data of how many cases were reported to him. We know that it's in the thousands because one of our members told us her number was 3,993. And if her number was 3,993, then that means that there are thousands of people who are waiting for an investigation just like her that never came under Sheriff Miranda. And as a city...
No, go ahead. I'm just taking that in. That's a big number.
As an investigatory body, as the sheriff being an investigatory body, what had happened was the Attorney General and the DAs would tell people to go file a complaint with the sheriff. People would go file complaints with the sheriff. Either you get no answer or your case was basically ignored. And so now what this means is that the full weight of the mayor's office, we now having established the Office of Deed Theft and Prevention, as well as the Department of Finance, now housing the Office of Deed Theft and Prevention. The sheriff reports directly to the commissioner of the Department of Finance. We now have an operation that can work. And so we fully expect cooperation from the sheriff and that these investigations will now happen, real investigations, and what we need to go into court.
So let's unpack that.
Mm-hmm.
You said why? That's big. That's bigger than anything I've heard so far on the question, right? And that's big and like in an unprecedented way, probably in some very real terms, right? My co-host is a lawyer and he's shaking his head. All right, it's big. Okay, who are we talking about? Because that's the one thing that was very clear when y'all started making noise is that not only were Black elders being robbed, but there was also a lack of prosecutorial will.
Yep.
Those bodies that have the capacity and that responsibility to do that. So let's unpack that. Who are we talking about?
So let's start with our Attorney General. And it's very important that we talk about the Attorney General because she's been the Attorney General for some time now. And she was the one who put out the statistics of deed theft and how it was occurring throughout the city and the state, with ground zero being Bedford-Stuyvesant and then the surrounding communities. However, although she has made this announcement, we've seen laws come and be enacted. What has happened on her part is a failure to prosecute as well. 756A was a law that came out, but that she was a part of, her, Zeno Myrie, and I forget the other guy from upstate or Westchester. I think he's in Westchester or the Bronx. But they worked on this bill together. And what they did was they presented one form of the bill, where 756A says that whenever a governmental agency, local or statewide, is in conducting an investigation, that there can be stays of eviction. However, what we're finding is that these same investigatory agencies, the Attorney General, the DA, the sheriff, when they could go in and stop evictions, unlawful evictions that would be happening to homeowners who were being treated as tenants while they were in the process in Supreme Court fighting to prove ownership, would be evicted from their properties. The Attorney General, since 2023, has only used this law 7 times. However, according to the statistics, she has over close to 1,000 complaints that have come in to her office between 2023 and 2025.
So she ain't.
However,
so let me put a. She's not about prosecuting these racist land grabbers. I'm gonna tell you something about Letitia James that people do not want to talk about. Also, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a child of the Black Panther Party. Our last New York State political prisoner was Jalil Muntaqim. 29 years in prison from a COINTELPRO phone. During COVID, she went in the court to block his release. Had him sent back to prison. He caught COVID and damn near died. For some of us, we some of us have been had an axe to grind with that sister for a minute. Not for some of us, it's not surprising, but it should be revealing in a way that makes more of us, ready to get engaged in some real organizing to defend our community. Carry on, keep going.
And it's important that we do that, right? One of the things that has disturbed me about this altogether is that I'm usually in a labor space. I'm a labor organizer due to profession and then just the work that I have been doing. The fact that seniors and their children walked into a labor meeting looking for relief with me and Charles Barron, telling that they were in desperate times. And so one of the things that has come out of this is that her lack of investigation showed up in 212 Jefferson Avenue, right? It is from her own words that it emanated from D theft. It originated from D theft. However, we have letters from her office stating that this was not a D theft case. However, when they really now go and look at it, we know that this is a case of ghost heirs. This is a case of a conservator from Georgia who violated the rules and came into New York and sold a property without getting the proper permissions from the courts. There were jurisdictional issues. There were issues with the heirs and the establishment of who had rights to the property at all. And with all of this being before her, this was sent back to us to say that this is not a case of D theft at all. And so the bigger issue comes now. We get a call yesterday that this same Tish James, who a man named Sanford Sony, who stole over 250 plus properties in Brooklyn alone,
250 properties.
250 properties, was only prosecuted and found guilty of 11. The victims had all filed complaints with the AG's office in some form or another, either got back no response from her or was sent that they had the investigation was unfounded. And so with this happening over and over and over again, and now she's looking for the victims of Sanford Sony. Why do you want to look for the victims of Sanford Sony now? You never gave them any relief. Only 11 he was found guilty on. 7 properties are slated to be returned, but they also authored a law that was sent out to law firms that lobby, and they gutted the bill, and now they have something in a bill that's called the bona fide purchaser, so that when you steal someone's property, if you transfer it to someone else or if it's sold to someone else, however it's transferred, it becomes rinsed. And the bona fide purchaser now becomes the owner. And the original owner who was fighting to get their property back, because the deed thief transferred it, now they're no longer entitled to their property. This was done to protect the real estate developers and the real estate interests, and this was done on her watch. She fully understands it and know what she did. She was a, and because of the fact that she has done these things and is very well aware, we are calling into question whether or not a case to her office. Should she even have access to these cases because of what it is that she's consistently done this over and over again, and we want her to be an honest dealer, right? If you're going to represent the judges, if you're going to represent corporate interests, we want her to financially disclose. We want to know, where's your money coming from? Who's backing you? Where do you get your campaign finance dollars? We need to understand this, to understand why are you moving against your constituents and the very people that put you there. One of the things I said on Open Line was that when Letitia James ran for to become the Attorney General, I sat in front of my TV, hopeful, watching her be sworn in with her niece, holding the Bible, and her taking her oath of office as she was being sworn in to become the Attorney General. And it is very disheartening to know that I voted against my own interests and that our communities are being decimated by a woman that we all put our political weight behind and our votes behind to get her there, only now to be suffering under this type of betrayal. And so it is something to be looked at, but she's just one part of the problem. The Brooklyn Democratic machine has also been the controlling factor in the Brooklyn courts of the judges who are on the bench, the pay-for-play system that we've been dealing with. And now that we've exposed it, we've pulled back the curtain, and you get to see the judges who are who are sitting here and behaving unlawful from the bench. Now, all of a sudden, everybody wants to talk about deed theft and act as if they care, but they knew all along that these things were happening.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Now, I don't know if Carmela could get on, but let's take a step and look at how. Oh, wait, is she getting on?
Oh, there go Carmela. She's there.
Yes, I got some help.
There you go.
It's why when you live in community, somebody help me.
Right. Welcome to All Politics Are Local. Let me first apologize for all the hell that these corrupt thieves have put you through, Queen, and salute you for your valor and your courage and your willing to stand up for yourself and the spark that you ignited by virtue of what you've gone through around other folks that we got to, raise up some noise too. Now, I was getting ready to ask Evangeline to begin to cite your example as how this ugly stuff played out, but we got you to tell your own story.
Yes, yes.
Tell us what happened.
Oh my goodness. Well, it started back in actually 2019 when they started an action against my father.
Hold up. I got to stop you. Are you sitting in front of your home that you're fighting for?
Yes, I'm right in front of it, outside on the bench.
We see you, right?
Yes.
The principle of the ancestors. We see you, Queen. Go ahead. I want to put a
yes. And so when the action started, my father had relocated he was back and forth. He had multiple property. So he was back and forth from Atlanta to here, and the action had started. It was this strange relative that said he had rights to the property, which we know he didn't. And so when the action started, we just started compiling the evidence and waiting to go to court. And that was in 2019. My dad gave us a POA because he's, back and forth. And so if we had to do anything pertaining to the house.
Now, hold on. This is a community radio show now. Most of us don't know what the hell a POA is. What's that?
Oh, sorry. It's a power of attorney,
Go ahead.
a power of, yes, sorry, a POA, a power of attorney, which allowed us to make decisions pertaining to the property and also over my father and his finance. So we were like, fine. We had an attorney. We was compiling evidence, and we were just waiting to go to court. Well, during that time frame, we saw that I worked for Delta. I took my father on a trip, and when we took my father on the trip, we thought it was jet lag. We saw that he wasn't himself. And so automatically we said, when we return back, we'll fly to Atlanta, take my dad to the doctor, and make sure everything is okay with him. During the trip, we found out that he had married this woman for her papers. So we were like, oh my gosh, my father married some woman. We don't know who she is. But the main thing was just to make sure my dad was okay. During that time, this woman gave us kickbacks, fighting us, everything. I used my POA to put on my father's like medical, his account.
Mhm.
I didn't have access to the account. I just was the POA over the account. So I was able to see with online banking all the transactions that was being done. I went to every agency. I cried out to everybody to try to get help and support. Nothing. So what eventually happened was my father's wife, when we were trying to take my dad to the doctor just to see about him, she ended up putting an order of protection against us. And so when we went to court, the judge was like, listen, there's something else that you probably guys could do. And she had mentioned to become the guardian and conservator over my father. So then at that point, we could do certain things. We could start a divorce. We could do all these things that needed to be done. And so that's what we did. I hired an attorney to assist us into being my father's conservator and his guardian. Because in Atlanta, it's both conservator and guardian. One's over finance, one's over health. Well, when we went to court for that, before we went to court, there's someone called a Liam report. It's an attorney that compiles all the evidence. So it was shown that she was taking money from him. She took $17,000 out of his account, the account that he had for like over 26 years, wiped his account completely out, did a quick claim deed on his property in Georgia twice in 1 year because he had a prenup. So so she knew that she wasn't going to get anything, but what she tried to do was liquidate his assets so she can just attach herself to everything. So that's what led us to apply for the conservator and guardianship. We felt real good about it. We had an attorney. All the evidence showed that she was doing these things that we had been saying. And then once we went to court, everything changed during the court. It was during COVID. We was, on Zoom. Everything changed during that time. And then the court said, we'll be a neutral party. And then they took over to be the conservator and the guardianship over my father. And then right away, they started trying to liquidate his assets. And so because there was a litigation already going on in New York, the conservator, she basically was like, just
Wait,
you
wait,
know,
wait, 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 wait. Let me ask you a question. You said they was trying to liquidate his asset. Who is they?
the probate court in the state of Georgia, they instantly started liquidating his assets. He had no debt. He had probably like $103,000 of cash on hand in his accounts. And normally if they start liquidating anything is because of debt. He had none of those things. No debt, no nothing. My father lived very minimalistic. He didn't have any of those. But the conservator came in, instantly start liquidating his assets.
And what did the
So
attorney do?
oh, wait, Ed, I'm sorry. Ed is a lawyer too, by the way. So
Oh,
question.
the attorney that we had was only for the guardianship and the conservatorship. So once that was over with, she cut ties. Like, all right, see you later. And then we were like scrambling on trying to figure it out. Like, do we appeal it? What do we do? What's the different steps? And it was just like, you know,
But I think something that they need to know is that in the power of attorney, it said that if anything ever happened to him, and if guardianship was to have to happen, that he wanted Carmela to be his guardian. So the power of attorney instructed the court, and the court ignored the power of attorney. They basically disregarded it and made sure that it's not even a part of the documents that were filed originally on the case. It is as if Carmela never said anything about a power of attorney or anything else. And the power of attorney right now is the determining factor in what's happening in the court. That how can a hearing go forth without first acknowledging the power of attorney? And for all of these years that Carmela has been fighting, the power of attorney has been ignored by courts. Every court venue that she's gone into where she's let them know that she has a power of attorney, which is, I think, about 36 pages, very, very detailed power of attorney. And so the fact that the court has ignored it is one of the jurisdictional issues that's going on right now in the hearing that we're preparing to go back in on June 3rd, that she has to go back in on June 3rd to get the habeas corpus lifted and for her father to be awarded to her care. And so this is like a huge case that all eyes should be on. It also will set precedent in New York moving forward as it relates to guardianship hearings and how judges conduct themselves when they have a power of attorney. We know other people who've had the same issue. There's a gentleman who he went to court, presented his power of attorney, and his attorney revoked his power of attorney behind his back.
Oh my God.
And said that he had given up his power of attorney when he did it, and which has led to the decline in his mother's health, and almost that she'll never be back to herself because they took the power away from him to make decisions on her behalf. And so we see these abuses happen in the courts all the time. Another thing about Georgia, to show you how racist and intentional the South is about stripping us of our wealth. They took the conservatorship part and put it in probate court. Probate is for the dead, not the living.
Yeah.
And so the fact,
right?
Yes?
He's still living. Yes, he's still living.
yes, they took now understand the conservative part for a living human being who needs services is put in a place where you go to deal with inheritance of the dead. For those who are living to inherit property and for that to go before the probate court for those issues. Instead, they've taken a human life and have given it to the probate court to make decisions about them and their property while they are still alive. And it shows you the intent of Georgia. It's not about the best interest of the ward. It's about the enrichment of themselves and those who they are doing business with outside of the court environment. And understand that most people who go into these venues are pro se. They cannot afford lawyers, right? And so what happens is also they get taken advantage of.
Yes.
Carmela started out with an attorney, but she didn't have an attorney all the way through these proceedings. And it has made all of the difference in that now, after years of having no lawyer, no one to go in and speak on her behalf, the same arguments that she argued as a pro se, an attorney has picked up and gone in and made those same arguments. And now, all of a sudden, magically, there is now a turn of events. The property can now be returned. The investors or the fraudsters rather want to give back the property. We can have all of these conversations, but that doesn't undo the fact that on paper, there was an eviction awarded to people on a default judgment that the courts were heavy-handed towards Carmela and didn't want to vacate the order while she was trying to safeguard herself from the system, right? They have repeatedly been very, very heavy-handed towards her whenever she tried to make an appeal. But it's the system, and it needs to be understood, and people need to understand and know that these things have been going on, and this is what she's been fighting against, is that these courts, the probate court, we tell all Black people, stay out of guardianship court, conservative, do not take your loved ones in there. You're going to go in there one way and you're going to leave empty-handed, right? And they're going to make the decisions for them as if they are them, regardless of what you have in place. And so this has sort of opened the veil and pulled back the veil to show people what is really going on in Brooklyn Supreme Court, and how did they allow a foreign sister state to come in and do this type of harm and tear up our state, cause all this confusion, and then not push back against it, right? So there's a lot to unpack. I know we have more, you probably have other segments and things that are going on, but
This is your
we just
segment.
want
Keep
you,
talking.
we just want you all to really understand that we are fighting for our very existence. It is now said that the foreclosure courts are the new trading grounds for Black and brown generational wealth. When you are getting these letters saying that your mortgage has changed, there's a new servicer, a lot of times they just sold your note and someone else is just waiting for the opportunity to foreclose on you based on this note that they bought from whoever. A lot of times it's not even a bank that is selling it. And so our people are being, railroaded through the system of playing services because we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. The attorneys even laugh about it when they're talking to us about it. Almost as like, you don't know how this goes. Like you don't understand what's happening. How would we understand what is happening? And so people have to understand that a lot of times when you're being foreclosed on, the person that's foreclosing on you, they don't even have the note, right? But because you don't know what to ask for and you don't understand the process, you actually give up the rights to your home when the person that is foreclosing on you doesn't even have the proper documents to even bring a case. And this is happening all over, not only New York, but all over the country. Now, New York is due to who our justice is, Rowan Wilson, who wrote the decision on the FAPA Abuse Prevention Act. Due to the predatory practices that have been happening against us, that law sort of safeguards you against these litigations that they keep you in for 10, 15 years. Sometimes you die in the midst of trying to fight these unjust foreclosures, and has given them a time frame. And if they go past litigation of 6 years, the property has to be, the case has to be dismissed and the property returned, and they cannot bring back another case. But the truth of the matter is, most of these cases should not even be before court at all. And the servicers and these fake banks that are emerging all over the place are just coming in and stealing our properties. And because we don't understand and we don't know that this is a well-orchestrated machine to defraud us of our generational wealth. That is exactly what it is that we're dealing with. Right now, someone, if your property is paid off, can go and slap a fraudulent note and say, we're foreclosing on you because you have not paid, your mortgage. You know nothing about it. And you don't show up to court. You will lose your house to a default judgment for something that you have not participated in. And this is happening every day. It is in the courts, and it's something that our attorney general, our district attorneys, public advocate, everyone knew about it, right? I don't know the extent that everyone knew. I know that now the public advocate is working, along with us. The Brooklyn DA has publicly come out and said that everyone needs to apologize to the victims because we have blamed them and said that they've signed things, they've done things to put themselves in these positions. And we now know that that is not what was happening, right? And that there is a crime syndicate that is operating and defrauding people out of their properties, and that these are crimes. You have lawyers who are acting like they're bankers, like they are writing mortgages and foreclosing on people in mass number and nothing being done about it. But now, again, with Edwin Raymond being brought into the equation, Richard Lee running the Department of Finance, and things being set up the way they are, we do have a chance of some type of justice coming and really getting a handle on it. And so we're hopeful, and we know that it's the power of the people that is making this happening. I want to understand, and I want this to ring home to people, and don't forget this. Carmela was not awarded her home by a court of law. She was awarded her home through the power of the people. Yes. The fact that we said we're not giving up no more houses, and come what it will or may, we're going to put our bodies on the line, we're going to put our freedom on the line, and we're going to tell you, you will not take this home. It's not going to happen. And whatever it is, whatever the consequence is, this is the last house that you're going to come and take from us under the color of law. Right. And that has been the success. And moving forward, it is that same applied pressure that it takes. And that's why we're very serious about us stopping using the word gentrification. It's a distraction from what is actually happening. What is happening in Brooklyn and across the country is political betrayal that has led to the population change of the demographic that is here. And it is our own Black bodies in office who have allowed this to happen. And the reason why we know that they have is because Charles Barron is in the same city.
He talks about the demographics and what that looks like all the time. Go ahead, make your point.
He's in the same city. He protected, as the gatekeeper on his watch, him and Inez Barron protected East New York. They fought, and Inez Barron fought for the state. Charles Barron had full jurisdictional control as the city council member for 21 years over East New York. And East New York is the only section of Brooklyn that is not gentrified that was predominantly Black.
Right.
Okay? Which lets us know that we had Carnegie, what was the other name? There's a whole bunch of them. I'm forgetting their names right now. Carnegie, you had, what's the lady's name that's the head of Veda, Carmela? I'm forgetting her name, but you have Stephanie Zimmerman. You have so many of the electeds that were in Brooklyn, that were in these seats, that allowed and sold out the community, and now want to walk back. You have Jesse Hamilton, Eric Adams. These were the people, Tish James, all the way up to the Secretary of State, Walter Mosley, all of these people. You go and look at what happened to Black Brooklyn under their leadership and on their watch. There has to be a reckoning, and we cannot continue to keep using gentrification, which only means that the transplants are here. However, the people who are here are now our neighbors. And when we get knocked in the head, they're on the front lines with us. The elected officials and all of these groups that say that they are so with us, they're not there. And so we want to be very clear that they could play the gentrification narrative all they want. We know that this is political betrayal. It was a political hit. It has been politically orchestrated for their own benefit. And we know this because Eric Adams is out of office now. And immediately when he leaves, we see relief. Carmela would not be in her home. We would probably have deaths and blood shed in front of 212 Jefferson if he was the mayor right now, because he would have made sure that those, the people who stole Carmela's home and her family's property and orchestrated this, that they would have walked away with the property, and he would have made a statement to affirm it.
Wow.
And so that is what we're dealing with. And so now We are in the midst of correcting that, helping to educate the community on the power of not giving your allegiance to any political entity, to build up ourselves as an independent body that votes our issues, not according to who's your friend or if they have the blackest rhetoric, but who's really working on your behalf to protect the community. And that's where we have to go, because that's where we are in the times that we're dealing with and we're living in.
Let me say this, then I want to come and give her some more words in this. Just as an elder organizer now, how proud I am of you and your generation stepping forward and taking and seizing this moment. That's crucial. I want to get at in some of the few minutes that we have left, how in the madness of all this, Carmelo winds up at Rikers Island. That blew my. A lot of us, we just lost it. It can't happen. You're muted, Carmelo. Come off mute and then tell us that.
Yeah, well,
Hear that.
you're right. It can't happen. It did happen. But the thing about it, and collectively, with us organizing, is that I I had to stand in it, and everything that they asked me to do, I did, right? I knew I knew what I was approaching because I had been dealing with this for a while. And they
Mhm.
were like, no, 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 just come to court. It's not, just do what they tell you to do. And I'm like, fine. I went to court. When they took me in, I went to court. The judge wasn't even there. Judge Fryer wasn't even there. They called her in. She came in, she presented herself. The warrant that they had for me was already almost a year to date. So it was very orchestrated. The warrant and the eviction they knew about it. So they were all in cahoots together. When I went in front of the Judge Fryer, we had two attorneys that's in the community that was there on site to be a support for me.
Miss
The
Carmelo,
trio,
Miss Carmelo, what was the warrant for? What
the
was
warrant was for the habeas corpus. They put a habeas corpus warrant against me for not producing my father, which they APS was called. They did wellness checks.
Wow.
All of these things they had no proof of anything.
and
So
so
what
let's
they did, um,
so let's just state for people habeas corpus. They were saying that basically you were holding your father hostage.
Mhm.
exactly. But a habeas corpus is normally for institution to produce the body.
That's
I'm
right.
his daughter
And
with
so
a POA.
they had a warrant for you for saying that you were holding your father.
Against his will with no proof. It wasn't like he said it. It wasn't like neighbors said it. They just
Cover
Georgia
their
said
crimes.
say that again.
To cover their crimes.
Yes.
Exactly. You got it. They was trying to cover their crime. So
And Carmelo, let me just ask you a question.
sure.
What was your father's health at that point? Because I remember you saying that when you all came back off of the trip, your father wasn't feeling well. So you all took him to the doctor. Was he diagnosed with something?
He ended up having vascular. They said that he had like a vascular dementia. So if his blood pressure is up, it would cause, and I'm thinking anybody, it would cause you to, have you would be like off, like as far as that's based on his blood pressure. So that we knew, okay, let's make sure his blood pressure make sure he's okay, make sure he eats. Sometimes you have to, redirect him, but the redirection is from all this confusion, more so than just him itself, his health. It's from just being displaced, from not having what he needs for him to function like he needs to function. And so,
And how old
you
is
know,
your
my father's 84.
84?
He's
Okay.
84 and he has prostates. So that was our main concern, to make sure he was okay and stable. And so when they and Georgia knew about all these things, like they knew, we submitted petitions for them to be removed. So we was in communication with them to do all the necessary things for them to be removed. And so with this warrant that put on me. I went in front of the judge. The judge wanted me to stay in jail, like instantly. She was, if everybody was not there, like Evangeline said, you could forget it. I would probably still be in Rikers.
Because y'all been packing the courts,
We've been packing the courts,
Mhm.
right? And
ready to
all
hit.
eyes are on them. And so she was like, you know, you have to come to court on the 16th. And when you come to court, bring your father. So, you know, of course, everyone is like, just bring your father. You know, we everybody see my father in the community. They know that's not true. So everyone was like, just cohere to it. And I was like, okay. I knew that if I brought my father to court, they were going to take him.
Hmm.
From all the running around, we took him to the MD clinic. They said that he may have been exposed to COVID. They gave me a letter. When I came to court on the 16th, that's when we finally had an attorney. We, you know, retained an attorney. She submitted the documents, let her know. She let the judge know if it could be adjourned because she just, you know, we just signed a retainer to take on the case. The judge completely ignored it. When we got to court, Georgia was there to take my father back.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And it was like, you know, it was like, to me, it was a relief because it was like, now you see what I'm talking about, you know? And everybody was just like, wait a minute, you know? And I think when everyone was able to see it, it was like, oh, no, this is wrong. This is totally wrong. And I sat there because I knew that she was upset because I did not bring my father. And that's what they wanted. They didn't want to hear what I had to say. They went ahead with court. Even though, you know, the attorney had, you know, put in the information and asked for it to be adjourned, and she went ahead with the case. And then
Okay.
afterwards, she sent me from court right to Rikers Island.
Wow.
And how long were you in Rikers? How long were
Yes.
you there?
How long
How
were
long
you there?
were you? How long were you?
I was there for 6 days.
Okay.
It was so bad, Rikers didn't know what to do with me. They had me in civil contempt.
And did they release you on your own recognizance, or did you have to post bail?
It wasn't no post bail. They had court while I was in. I don't know exactly what happened, but they had court while I was there.
No, they released you on your own recognizance.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they
Yep.
never gave you they never gave you a reason for
There was
why.
nothing recorded in Rikers Island because I have someone that works there and they looked in my information and there was nothing. It was zero by my name.
Wow.
Yep.
And why this is so ugly, you missed this part of the conversation, but I was sharing with Evangeline that Attorney General Tish James sent back an elder from the Black Panther Party back to prison during COVID, and he damn near died. And you know, Rikers is, you know, we've been trying to close Rikers for years.
Yep.
We know how messy Rikers could be. Anything can happen to anybody in prison at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you had to go through that ordeal is just absolutely abhorrent. And again, you know, just as a brother in the community, you know, I apologize for what happened to you. As we wind down, Evangeline, I put in the chat the link for the coalition. But if there are any other things that are coming up, you mentioned June 3rd. How can folks jump in this fight, because it's a good one, right? To continue to support y'all.
Well, what the judge did was she made sure that June 3rd that she would be in full control. So she took it from being a public hearing to now that it'll be online, where she will now try to do whatever she would be shamed to do in person on WebEx. And so that's what we are dealing with now. But she will be at court. However, she doesn't want people to come. But we're going to be there. We'll still pack out the courthouse. We still are going to make sure that we let the press know that we will be there, because you have to continue to keep this going. And I want to say something. We are, there's a big fight right now going on in New Jersey. New Jersey is being slaughtered by DETA. Trenton, New Jersey, all in that area. You have a very large immigrant population there, and some of our coalition members are Hispanic. There's a woman named Grace Fernandez who has been single-handedly trying to fight to keep people in their properties. They've been stealing the homes and selling the homes of people, well, stealing the homes from people and giving them to, and turning them into hotels and taking the property and then building
The
hotels.
state capital of New Jersey does not have one single hotel.
Say that again?
Trenton is the state capital of New Jersey, and right now it doesn't have one single hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm married to my former soldiers at the last Marriott several years ago.
Right.
There's no hotels in the capital of the whole state doesn't have a single hotel.
Mm-hmm. And so what they're doing now is they're taking the properties from people and they're building hotels. Wow. A lot of these are pastors, people who had properties that they've inherited, and they've just taken them from them. And Grace Fernandez is fighting back. And as such, yesterday, the day before, her tires were slashed on her car. They've started targeting her. She lives on 7 acres and she has cameras everywhere. And she's been letting us know, like, listen, my life is in danger. There's something that needs to be done. And so, again, we need to really have a meeting around this.
Yes, ma'am.
Understand that the property values, not only in New York, but across the country, have now gone out of control, not because the property values have really risen. It is these fraudsters, these predators who have been allowed to exploit the banking system, the foreclosure system, the short sale system, politicians turning a blind eye to what's happening, the courts being overrun with these cases. And now they are just taking it because they can no longer understand something. In Bedford-Stuyvesant, if you're trying to get a brownstone right now, you know, oh, my phone went off.
No, you're all right. We hear you. Oh, she was just trying to.
Yeah, she was trying to explain what was happening in terms of trying to get a brownstone in Brooklyn right now. And I, Carmela, I don't know if you can add anything to that with what she was just saying, the difficulty of getting property.
And Carmela froze.
I think she was referring to what the prices. Yes, what the prices of the properties in Bedford Stuyvesant is. I mean, they're running at least 2.3 million. Man. As is this neighbor's house right here. That was on the market for 2 weeks for 4.3.
Wow. And that neighbor should be able to enjoy that if it's coming her way.
In 2 weeks, it's sold.
Wow. 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 And let me ask you a question. Do you know, because you know one of the problems we have in New Jersey is that these properties are being bought by
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
I can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear us?
Carmela, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can.
I can't. For some reason, I can't hear you.
So maybe what you might want to do, Carmela, is try to go out and come back in, see if that works.
Yeah. And then come back and we'll wrap up because we're not going to tie you up, but we want to just get this last bit of information out for y'all because it's so important. She still can't hear us. No. That's so unfair.
Yeah.
This has been a loaded segment, as everybody who's watching and listening can hear, on an incredible issue that's creating a serious crisis in our community. And we want to just lift that up. We apologize that we having this interference. And we just want to jump in. I put in the chat, started..What to follow what's happening in New York. I'm going to reach back to Evangeline and track down Grace Fernandez, who she identified as being a key person on that front here in Jersey. And there's a need for some real, we talk about political education and organizing. we need some financial literacy organizing to
Okay.
protect elder homeowners, right? Carmela, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. I can
All
hear you
right,
clear.
just give your final remarks. You can pick up on what she said. Give your final remarks. We have one ritual question we're going to ask you, and we'll let you go. And I'm going to be in touch on the regular. Okay, I'm going to be on touch on the
Well, I
regular.
well, I want to thank you guys. I thank everyone. I thank everyone for their support and everyone. I mean, this. I mean, I know it seems egregious what has happened to
It is
me,
egregious.
but it has birthed community. I'm home and everybody that walks by knows. Everybody that walks by is like, we see what's happening to you. We with you. We support you. So at the end of the day, this is really all I wanted, right? I wanted us to unite. I wanted us to unite and see that we're really in trouble, right? Because we say it all the time. It's like every that's our storyline. Well, what happened to our community? This used to be a thriving community. This used to be like, why is that have always been our storyline? And it has to stop. And now it's stopped, and now we're getting regain everything that that you took from us. A young lady that works at right up the on Nostrand Avenue, the young lady came here and she said, Camilla, I walk by my mother's house every day. I think about like that house could have been mine. It was a family, dispute. Her mother was tricked out of it from her aunt when her father died, and they basically took the house from her mother. And she called her mother. She's in Virginia, and I was like, "I'm gonna help you. Like I want to help people that these things happen to."
You already have
Yes.
tremendously. I want to put a pin in that. Ed is going to
Yes.
ask you our ritual question as we go out. And like I said, I'm going to be in more regular touch.
Okay.
My New York organization is Malcolm X Commemoration Committee is based in New York. So, even though I live in Jersey, we're going to
Yes.
support you locally too. All right.
All
Yes.
right,
Thank you so much.
before I ask you that question, Carmela, there was one question I was asking before you couldn't hear us. Are those properties, do you know, are they being bought by LLCs?
Yes. Yes, they're bought by what they do is they find groomers. So when they find people that kind of look like us or maybe
Mm,
relatives, they start out like that. But behind, you know, um, the people that look like us, it's a lot of them are Orthodox Jews that are behind these
wow.
LLCs.
Yeah, that's what's happening in New Jersey. And of course,
Jersey
thanks
City.
to our mayor and city council, they put together legislation that the LLCs had to be revealed, right?
Yes,
You had to know exactly who they are. I don't know if that legislation exists in New York or in Brooklyn, but that is definitely something that should be proposed to the city council there in New York.
I think to the city council and maybe with the senator as well. That is one of the deed theft packages. One of the four of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. All right.
The
So here's our
LLCs.
question. Here's our question that we ask all of our guests. So I know you've been going through a lot. I know it's seemed like hell. What we are a political hip hop radio talk show. What hip hop song or music that sort of kept you going and just kept you while you were trying to hold on for some semblance of justice in this matter?
I think soul to soul. Keep on. I, I mean, that's hip hop. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's
Keep on
definitely.
moving, don't stop.
Uh,
Like that's what it is. I can't even have an emotion in this. I just gotta go.
Right. We are a music people, right? And
Yes,
usually when we're
yes,
going through things, the one thing that we took from Africa to us that the slave masters couldn't take was that drum, right?
yes,
The way we communicate, the music. And that's why when you look at Africans, everything that they were going through in South Africa, white folks would look at them and say, how in the hell are those people dancing?
yes,
Right? And they would look at us in slavery and saying, how the hell are they singing, spiritual gospels with all we doing to them? That's why we
yes,
know that there's a song, there's some music that keeps us going on, that keeps us holding on.
yes,
So,
yes,
so
definitely.
I
Soul to
understand.
soul, definitely.
Thank you, Queen. We'll be in touch. We
Yes,
speak.
thank you for your time.
And definitely thank the other sister for coming on.
Oh, Evangeline, yeah, that's our quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah,
She run the ball. She run it home
Birthday
every single
sister.
time.
Proud of her. That's right. I love you.
Yes, yes, yes. We listen. We're so thankful for her.
Well,
Yeah,
you
She's
definitely
been our voice because when you're going through this, you just like you don't even know where to start. You don't know where to
right,
start, but
right,
you
right.
have to trust your lead. You have to trust who's leading, and we trust her 100%. We're so thankful for her, and she's an example to show that collectively we can all work together and make things happen. Because it was all of us. It was her. It was everybody coming together. This is the reason organizing my block. This is why I'm here in my home now.
well,
We're glad
listen,
to see that.
we
We're glad to
definitely
see
thank
that.
you for coming and sharing the story. But I want you to know, both of you to know that you've got an ally over here. So
Yes.
you guys need to get that word out. As my brother Zayid say, we are the community drum. So
That's right.
place to come and tell it.
Yes, yes. And you guys gotta come before the summer's out and come here and come visit. We're supposed to have a real big block party. Soapbox comes to perform on our block and it's supposed to be my house. So I want to give you guys an early invite to come.
Maybe
We
we'll come. Maybe we'll come and we'll go live from over there.
Oh yes, yes, please do.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, my sister.
All right, thank you.
All right now.
All righty. Take care.
And Ed, I gotta do a handoff to you and give you the ball because I gotta go run
I
and do
know.
another interview. I'll be back at 8 o'clock for the
But
late.
here's the problems. I don't see any of our guests or anybody that was supposed to be coming up.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I see Marquis bouncing.
Go to Marquis. Marquis spoke to me. Y'all don't need me right now. I gotta go handle some other stuff.
All right, Zai.
All right, I'll be back in a minute.
Yes, sir. Please, please,
What's
please.
going on?
Can you hear me, Marquis?
I hear you. You hear me?
I can hear you now. What's happening, brother?
Nothing much out here on this campaign trail.
Yeah, you look like a man on a mission, brother.
Yes, sir. Just leaving West Orange, knocking on doors in West Orange.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. John left some questions. John left some questions for you that I want to get to, and obviously, I think that everybody that's running. I think, one of the things that was said before you bounced on, Mark, was that we've known you for a long time. You've been around for a long time, so you're not new to this. Obviously, you've been doing the work and so we know you not only from the community, but of course we know you from what you were doing at the Board of Education. So, Mark, are you there? I don't see you. So it look like we may have lost Mark, but we'll try to get him back. So, one of the things that we want to do here, as you all know, where all politics are local. So we'd like to, try and get all of the candidates who are running. Everybody's free to come through and have a conversation with us about, what they're doing, where they're going, and so I lost you for a minute, Mark.
Yeah. I'm back.
So
I can't
what
hear
I,
you. I went out.
I hear some feedback too.
Look, so I just, what I was saying was I just came in from West Orange. Just leaving West Orange, knocking on some doors. I
Hey, Mark,
introduced myself.
there's some
Yeah.
feedback. So why don't you go out and come back in again? All right.
Okay.
So as I was saying is that, what we try to do here is have all of the candidates, everyone that's running for office to come and speak directly to the community. So in and of itself, that's what we want to do with Mark. But we want to make it clear that all of the candidates that are running, that you're welcome to. We're still having some feedback, Mark. We can try to push through it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You hear me now?
I heard you, but I just lost your picture. Hey Mark, we're gonna bind that devil from coming to mess with your interview, my brother. we're gonna try to push forward in terms of having this interview and letting Mark get his say. But as I was saying, what we try to do here at All Politics are Local is to invite everyone to come on. I don't care, what side of the fence you're on. All Politics are Local is a fair ground where we try to give everyone an opportunity to come and tell everyone in the community, what their platform is, and to share what's going on with their particular campaign. So that's what we want to do with Mark tonight. But I also, as I said, I want to make it clear to all of the other candidates that you all are welcome to come on as well. Because what we want to do is try and give as much information to our community and make sure that when folks go to the polls, that they have as much information uh, uh, as possible and help them make the decision when they get to the polls to vote for people who are obviously there to serve their interests. And one of the things that you all heard a moment ago was is that what was happening in New York with some of the but you still having that issue. I'm not sure what's going on with your
Can you hear
phone.
me now?
I hear you, but there seems to be some feedback,
I can't
man.
hear you. You hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Are you moving, Mark? Are you driving? Yeah, that sounds great. So I'm not sure what's happening. But what I was saying, folks, and we'll let Mark try to work that out. What I was saying is that one of the things you heard with our other guests is they were talking about deed theft. They was talking, and this is why voting is important, right? They were talking about some of the elected leaders out in Brooklyn, um, you know, were some of the people who were in, from their perspective, were actually selling them out as it related to the gentrification that was going on. In terms of those folks losing their properties, and as you heard one of the sisters say, her father was 84 years old, which was obviously just incredible that she was not able
All
to.
right, I'm back.
Yeah, you know what? I can hear you, Mark. You sound a little better, my brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
not
I was
sure.
going through East Orange. They signal probably ain't as good as.
Yeah, not sure what that demon is, man. He's trying to make sure you don't get your story out. You know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
listen, Mark, while I got you, one of the things I was saying is that obviously, Mark, we know you. We've known you since you were a kid. You've been around for a long time. You're not new to this. You absolutely are true to this. You know, and of course, Mark, why don't you just give people a little bit of your background so people know who you are, and then we'll jump into of course, the seat you're running for now.
Yeah, so I'm Marquis Lewis, born and raised in the city of Newark. Went to Louise A. Spencer, Hawkins Street School, Arts High School, played football for Eastside High School, a community youth activist, student activist. Was the founder of the youth organization when I was in high school under the umbrella of the Street Warriors. Uh, Street Doctor and the Street Warriors took me under their wings and became the face of the Stop the Violence youth movement, not just in North, but through the Street Warriors, I became a national face to stop the violence because of my student activism, which led me to the school board when I was elected at the age of 21 to the school board, the youngest ever in the history of the city of Newark. I served 2 terms as the vice president and then became the president of the school board. Make sure that we had a smooth transition from the
Marky,
from
just from
take control.
yeah, we lost the transmission with Mark as he's moving through East Orange. So I think what we're going to have to try to do is get Mark to see if we can pull over and have this interview once we get him back. But again, folks, I mean, obviously, what we need to be doing as a community is making sure Mark, I think that's it. I think what I think.
You
I
got me
think
back now.
yeah. What you're gonna have to do, Mark, is probably gonna have to pull over when you get a chance to see if we can do this interview.
All right, I'm gonna come out and come back in.
All right. So again, folks, as we're trying to get this interview done with Mark as he's on the road, knocking on doors and campaigning with folks in terms of telling them who we are. But as I was saying, what's important is you all know, is that folks are able to come through and give their opinion. But what I was saying, what happened in New York, if you listen to the guests that were on prior to this, they were saying that the elected officials that they had gone to, even the attorney general, that these folks were selling out the black homeowners, particularly the elderly black homeowners, and that they were losing their properties, and that the black elected officials that they were going to were not helping them and did not help them. And in some cases, as she said, they were selling out for their own, as the guest was saying, these folks were selling out for their own political interest. Now we know that's true, right? We know that some folks do that, in terms of selling our community out. That's why it's important that we get the right people in office. That's why voting in and of itself is important. That's why getting to know the candidates is important. And when folks tell you that voting is not important, you know, you can look at that situation and you can see that that's not true. And one of the things that they said is they talked about since Mayor Mandani has been in office, they are starting to get the kind of help that they needed to get that they weren't able to get under the mayoralship of Eric Adams, which is sad in and of itself, because as they kept alluding to, it was people who look like us that were in elected office that were not helping them, but were selling out for their own political gains. And sadly, we hear that all the time, and that's just absolutely unforgivable. Can you hear me, Mark?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, I can hear you.
You know when you're doing the people's work, the devil try to get in between it, man.
Oh, that's true, brother. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. You know, he's doing everything he can, brother, to make sure you don't get your message out today. You know,
Hey man, that's just confirmed we about to win this.
that's absolutely confirmed, brother. That's what we know, brother. We call that confirmation, Mark. You know.
That's right. That's right. So
So go
yeah,
ahead.
as I was saying, served there on the school board for 9 years, was very instrumental in getting us back low control. Actually, a lot of people try to erase history. They don't want to talk about it. But in 2009, I beat the machine before. I was a young 21-year-old. They said no way, no chance. You ain't gonna serve on the school board. They had $250,000 in the coffin. I had $250. And ran and beat the machine before. And you know what I like to tell people? The machine was much powerful than it was in 2009 than it is now. So if I could beat it in 2009, what makes you think I can't beat it this time around, right?
That's right.
Um, so, you know, so as I left the school board, I went to the parking authority and served on the parking authority for 6 years. I was the president of the parking authority, chair of the parking authority when I left. And I've been coaching in the city. Uh, my team had made it to the championship 3 times. Uh, and we won the last time with 4 girls on the team. So I've been investing in young people since I was 16 years old. Um, I'm happy that commitment haven't wavered. I still stay committed to the work. In the honor of Earl Street Dr. Betts, who believed in me, the Ron Rices, who believed in me, the Donald Paynes, and all the Mildred Crump, and all these elders who poured into me. Even our Mayor Ras Baraka, who still pours in me and understand, that. I may not be perfect, right? But I'm the most committed, most loyal, and I'm the one that's driven to make sure that we get results. And that's why I'm running for this position, because I believe that too many people have been seat warmers and they've been riding on the coattail of the county exec all these years and have nothing to show for it. So, this is about winning a seat and not just being there to warm the seat and not just be there to do photo ops, but actually deliver results on behalf of all Essex County, all 800,000 people that we represent. Right, it's over 800,000 people, and guess what? 300,000 of them are in the city of Newark. Right, the largest voting base is right here. The largest population is here. Right, and why not give a young person who've been committed to this work and have been doing the work and have done it unselfishly and have been committed to this work, the opportunity. So I thank the people who really gave me this opportunity, and the reason why I stand here today. I saw Baruti Kafele. Baruti Kafele, when I was a student at Arts High School, he brought me to Newark Tech to talk to the kids there. Right, he brought one of their peers there to talk to them about why they need to change their life, why they need to do things right. Right, and as a commissioner, that's going to be my drive still, to make sure that young people who make a mistake in this county are not written off or are not um, avoided, not neglected. But when they make a mistake, we give them the resources in our detention centers to make sure that they learn from the mistakes. They're not written off, but we set them up to be successful.
So, Mark, I mean, obviously that's an impressive record, right? That's impressive. That you started out at 21 years old in leadership, and just to be in charge of a large school system like Newark was impressive in and of itself. Um, so, why don't you tell us, Mark, what is a county commissioner? What do they do?
But the county commission is the legislative body of the county. We supposed to review the budget, approve the budget, and also make sure that we are the constituent base, access to the constituents, that they can access us, that they can get information, that we give them the information, that we give them the resources. Our job is to go out and listen to the concerns of the residents, right? And bring it back to the administration on this is what our residents need, right? We're supposed to be their voice. We're not supposed to just be sitting there, just waving our term on by or just popping up to be in pictures. But we're supposed to be doing real legislative work as the commissioners. We're supposed to be the county government body, right? And that's what we plan to do. We plan to be the government body that's going to make sure that we effectively uh, uh, represent the residents of Essex County, all 22 municipalities.
And so, Mark, um, one of the things that you talked about over the budget, what we're talking about the entire budget for the state, or we're talking about the budget for New Jersey or for Newark?
And we talking about the budget for Essex County, right? With 916 million dollar budget, right? The residents need to know what that money actually being spent on. What are we actually doing, right? We are less than 1% vendors contractors in the county, black and brown, Latinos, and women, are not getting the opportunities to really serve their community. They're not given the opportunity to provide for their families, right? So I can't sit on that board, right, and be African American, right, and not get black and brown and Latinos and women the opportunity to do business where they lay their head at, where they pay taxes at. And we haven't done that in Essex County, right? We did a great job in Essex County. Our county exec do an excellent job, right? With the parks, right? But our people in Essex County are looking for services. They are hurting, and they need somebody to understand that they're hurting. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a surgeon, right? But I've been giving young people the opportunity to see all their life. I'm not a fireman, but I've been putting out fires all my life in the city of Newark, and I understand what our community need, and we need someone that's going to bring new energy, that's going to bring results, and it's going to come there on day one, ready to work in the first 90 days. That's what we're doing. In the first 90 days, we're doing a tour around Essex County, and we're going to hear from the residents on what their needs are, because what they need in Bloomfield and what they need in Montclair is not the same needs that they need in Newark.
So Mark, why don't you tell us why is it important? And you just alluded to it, right? Why is it important for you to become the at-large county commissioner?
Well, it's important because one, our young people, our generation, need it. The millenniums, the Gen Zs, they need to see leadership that they can depend on, that they have access to. Right. We also need it because our residents in Essex County are hurting, and they need somebody that's going to advocate on their behalf. Right. And I tell anyone. And someone said, "What do you want them to see in the first time?" No, I want them to see in my first 90 days that I'm more accessible. I want them to see in my first 90 days that they get information to learn about what the services the county provide. I want them to see in the first 90 days that they have a commissioner that's going to stand up against ICE, right? That's going to make sure that we give families the opportunity to live in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, and they don't have to be fair to live here. So they're going to have a commissioner that they know that's going to fight on their behalf. But we're going to have a commissioner that young people are going to understand that I'm accessible, that he's fighting for us, that mothers and grandmothers going to understand that he's fighting for us, that he's not just giving us bingo and giving away prizes, but he's really giving services to us.
Hmm. And Mark, are you running as part of any Democratic establishment in Essex County?
No, I'm a Democrat, but I'm running independent of the Democratic Party. I'm being fully endorsed by Mayor Baraka, and a number of elected officials across the county. Uh, Louis Quintana, who was the first Latino uh, elected in the city of Newark, have thrown his support behind me. Councilwoman in Montclair, Toller, have thrown her support behind me. School board president Casey Dudley and Bloomfield have thrown her support. Councilwoman Tracy Phillips has thrown her support behind me. Former mayor of Bloomfield, Gamble, have thrown his support behind me. His family thrown their support behind me. So we're building across Essex County, right? So we're the grassroots. I don't have as much money they do, but I'm telling you, my heart is bigger than all of this.
I like that, Mark. It's funny, man, because when you talked about having $1,500, the first time around, that seems to be the story, right, of all true warriors, man. You know what I mean? When they go out and serve the people. But let's talk a little bit about why is it important for people to early vote? Why is that important?
Well, it's important to early vote because you don't know what your Tuesday going to look like. But you don't want to miss the opportunity to elect new energy in Essex County. You don't want to miss the opportunity to really show change in Essex County, someone who's going to go there to work, right? You don't want to miss the opportunity. So anything can happen between now and Tuesday. So I urge, if you can, go to a nearest station near you where they doing the early voting and go vote. Make sure you hit E2, right? We need you to make sure you do that. We have fighters on this ballot. We have a LaMonica McIver, our councilwoman, our congresswoman, who's on the ballot. We have a Dorian Murray Thomas who's on the ballot. We have Medina Muhammad who's on the ballot. You have young people that you can really look up to that's not going to be a rubber stamper, who's going to really do the work, and somebody that's not just going to be there, like I always say, the warmer seat, but really deliver results.
So I'm curious, Marquis.
By the way, Marquis, if you don't know Josie, this is Marquis Josie.
Hi,
How you
Marquis.
doing?
Nice to meet you. Listen,
Nice
you know,
to meet
I'm always concerned about people who call themselves and qualify themselves as new energy, and folks who say they're not part of any machine. Yet you just rattled off people who are entrenched in the machine who endorsed you. So tell me how that sort of independence and new energy jives with being endorsed, because you only named people who are entrenched in the machine. You didn't name sort of community folks or grassroots folks, but you call yourself grassroots. So explain to me how we should understand you as a candidate.
So I'm glad you asked.
Oh,
Marquis, you going out?
I mean, I thought it was I'm on a hill.
No.
Okay.
I think he's going to have to go out and come back in.
That's cool. No, that's fine.
That's a good question. How are you, Josie? How's everything going?
Nice to see you, Ed. We should talk more about the earlier segment before he comes on. I mean, not now, but I ran a nonprofit, housing nonprofit, during the decades ago with lien foreclosures and thefts in Brooklyn.
Wow.
I did. Wow. I ran a nonprofit for low-income New Yorkers to get them their first home. Yeah. So this is not new.
Right.
And they're absolutely correct on all of their points, but this is not new. And I even sort of, many of us housing advocates met with Tish James back then. This was when she was running from public advocate to this. So,
right.
So this is a long, long story.
And what was your experience with Tish James back then?
She was public advocate then. Public advocates sort of, in a sense, are just window dressing for any political machine. But the issue is an overwhelming issue because the power rests outside of the political construct. So the money is what moves it. We say there are over 100 different points on a purchase of one property to make money. And usually it's not the person who's buying the property that's making money or the person who's selling it. There are about 100 points at which you can make money and where power rests. And so they're right on all of the elements they talked about. And Charles Barron was a force to be reckoned with back then, 20 years ago. But yeah, Mikey.
Seems like your transmission.
Hello? Did you hear me now?
Mark, your sound is a little fuzzy.
A lot of static.
You hear me now?
We can hear you, Mark, but your sound is got to go back out, Mark. See if we can get a better transmission. Say something, Mark. But so you were in Brooklyn at the time that Charles Barron was in office?
Yeah, I ran a national model for homeownership, funded through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And back then, trillions of dollars invested in getting low-income New Yorkers and low-income folks across the country to buy their first home because people were really invested in the idea of homeownership and what that looked like. And there were, sort of different. And I worked on loan products with the secondary market to do that, from rehab lending to Yeah.
Marquise, this sound is
Can you hear me?
yeah, we hear you, Mark, but that static is crazy.
It's crazy.
That
Hear me now?
static, I hear you, Mark, but for some reason the static is just absolutely unbalanced.
That's better.
Yeah, come out of the car. Yeah, that sounds,
All right, you hear me now?
yeah, yeah.
So I'm glad she asked me that question. I was looking for that, right? The people I named, you may think that he entrenched in the Democratic Party, but the people I named have always been challenged by the Democratic Party, have never really got the full support of the Democratic Party. The history of Ras Baraka. Ras Baraka have never been supported by the Democratic Party, even when he ran for governor. Um, Louis Quintana, have been independent. He has been an independent voice, even though he's been in office all these years. Casey Dudley ran against the machine and became the first African American elected to the board in Bloomfield. John Gamble, Ken Gamble, who was the former mayor of Bloomfield, is also a progressive outside the Democratic Party. So the people that I mean that's endorsed me have always showed their independence outside the party, right? And have put in the work to beat the party. Myself, right? I ran in 2009 against the machine, against people who were with the party and beat them. When I ran in 2000 and again in 2012, right?
We were struggling through
Yeah,
it.
I think he's lost. Yeah, I think he's lost. I think it's maybe it's the weather, the wind. It might be windy outside.
No, he
And
was inside the car. I just think it's some sort of bad connection. But I agree with Marquise. It's these people. You got to remember the devil know he's got this story he need to tell, and they're doing everything they can to keep that story from getting out. But you were saying now, you were running this large nonprofit back then, and there were 100 ways, 100 points to
yeah, I
fix.
mean that was yeah, it's like it's folklore. I mean, there's I mean, deeds move, properties move separately. When and they were right about, you should see when you're and this isn't just about your property, right? This is about your student loan, this is about any other loan. If you I mean, it's rare, I guess, today, more so.
Hey,
Hello.
yeah,
Hello. I think a
Yeah.
little better. But
Yeah.
Marquise,
Yeah.
um,
So
the
when I
idea,
talk about
yeah.
being grassroots, like I said, everyone that I named have not been a part of the Democratic establishment, that have actually beat the Democratic establishment, and have put in work. Right, grassroots is about putting in work to serve. All of us have put in work to serve, and have always went against the odds when we had to. Right, having an independent voice, being able to do what's right even when others want you to do what's wrong. Right, we have
Well,
done that. My track
yeah.
record on the school board speaks for itself. I could put my record on the school board against anybody, right? And what I fought for, what I've delivered, and what I've done as a school board president and a school board member. Ras
Yeah,
Baraka,
I'm
right? And Ras Baraka.
more than happy, more than
Mhm.
happy to unpack that record. But I
Okay.
think we often confuse the public about independence, grassroots, and machine, right? We often confuse that, and we leave the public sort of fusing those ideas together. Those things are very separate. And you're being endorsed by many Democratic elected officials. You are a Democrat. You are running as part of the machine. You are running as part of the Democratic Party. Um, Being an independent would mean that you're not on the ballot as a Democrat. And being grassroots, you see this overwhelming identification of grassroots folks who've endorsed you. So those things have an impact. So I want us to be really careful when we talk to the public, right? This is about civics. And I wish Professor Carter was here because she's so much better at it than I am. But folks have to understand what we mean by those elements. And you're using them, I can understand, to brand yourself in a particular way, but we want to be cautious about how we use those terms.
But
So you are being endorsed by the Democratic Party.
With all due respect, I am grassroots. You can look up my record. I'm grassroots through and through since I was 16 years old.
So yes.
Hold on. When I was standing on the corners, I was standing on sometime by myself. I built what I have today by doing grassroots work. Been out here on the community every single day, right? No, none of these people are on a football field on the afternoon dealing with young people who got challenges, visiting their schools, talking to their parents, pointing them to job opportunities, making sure that the mothers sometimes have food to put on their tables. They're not doing this stuff. I am, right? So I could, like I said, I'm willing to put my record against anybody, right? That's running currently against me. I've done it. 16 years old.
Go down.
I got 22 years in doing this. Since I was 16, since I was a kid in high school, right? That's why people support me. They're not supporting me because I'm talking about something that may brand me, make me look good. Because this is not about branding to me. Hold on, it's not about branding to me, right? This is my lifestyle. I take this serious. I don't play with that. This is serious. What I do, the work I do, the work I put in, the kids I fight for, the parents I fight for, my community that I fight for every day is grassroots work, right? I'm not back. I don't have money in my coffin like everybody else. My donors are people who are grassroots, people who believe in what I'm doing, my family, right? My church people, right? Because I am also a youth pastor. So clergy also endorse me and support me. So
okay, he's gone again. I hope he comes back.
So that's why I get offended when people say,
oh dear.
Hello?
So Marquis, I suggest that I'm speaking to how you present yourself, and that's usually just a branded message. But I want to move from that piece, and what you're talking about is community engagement, community advocacy, and you've built yourself on that, which is admirable and should be honored, right? Which is very different from when you begin to run as a political candidate. Now, I want to go to the $960 million budget. How do you see your part in increasing contracts, which is what you were referring to earlier, to non-white designated people and companies? How do you see that happening?
You said, how do I seek that?
Yeah.
I seek that by, we got to engage. It's about engagement, right? It's about talking about the services that we have with our communities, right? To seeing who is better qualified, who can compete for these contracts. Let them know what the process is, right? To give them an opportunity to try to compete for these projects, right? To try to compete for these services. So it's about collaboration, but it's also about transparency on what we can do and what we have to offer. So
okay. So I think you're right about not just educating people about it, but it's also preparing them to be competitive, and so that takes time and a process. I think we've lost him again.
Mark, can you hear us? No, we lost him. All right. So, I mean, when he comes back, we're going to wrap up with him.
Yeah, we'll wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were saying about what was going on, and Josie, you're right. We're going to have to go deeper in this particular question, because we've had Charles Barron on a number of times,
Yeah.
and even when he was in office,
Yeah.
and he was explaining how he was actually, and we heard that tonight. When folks said that if you look at everyone else in New York, you can look at East New York, and what is happening in other parts of Brooklyn didn't happen in New York. And I can remember when Charles Barron was on, he said that he would meet with the developers. And he said he would literally tell the developers that if you put in property, you could not build here and not build housing that the residents could not afford. He said that he wouldn't give them tax abatements.
Yeah. So the challenge. So when you look at Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy has the housing stock that doesn't exist in East New York. Very different housing stock, very different construction of neighborhoods, parks, amenities, we call it. So it's very different. Larger developers would look at East New York as opportunities because you can build warehouses, you can build a data center, massive land, right? In Bed-Stuy, and this goes back to the establishment and before that, but there is the first and for a long time the only Black housing development corporation. It's called the Bed-Stuy Development BSRC Development Corporation, that was sort of set up to build out Black wealth, Black property ownership, to support with lots of services. That has existed since the 60s. Robert F. Kennedy was part of the establishment, one of the founders of Bed-Stuy Restoration Corporation. So you have a neighborhood and a community that is just steeped in wealth, steeped in the possibility of expanding wealth. You've got theaters, you've got parks, it's a whole host of things. You've got stores. It is an exciting, Bed-Stuy has always been an exciting place to be. Even in spaces when we talked about, you talked a bit about Newark in that way, because when I first came to Newark, there was the whole mythology around Newark being this city of crime, and you had to be careful. In fact, when I got off of Penn Station, sorry, Marquis is back.
And Ed, you're muted.
Mark, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you now.
All right, so Mark, we're gonna let you finish your statement, and we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, so I get it. I get a little personal when people say I ain't grassroots. That's my lifestyle. So I start off grassroots, right? And
I didn't say that you weren't grassroots. I didn't say that.
Okay. Well, it implied
Yes,
that.
I didn't say that. Yeah.
But I just wanted to be clear that I'm not a part of the establishment, right? I have always fought for what I had to fight for. I had to fight for position when I ran the school board in 2009. I had to fight and earn people respect, right? I had to earn that their support, that I deserve to be there, right? Right now, the Democratic Party did not support me in the convention. I still decided to run, right? Because I don't care about people putting a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't grow up that way. I'm gonna fight for everything that I get, right? And that way, I feel like I don't owe nobody. So we and I believe that our campaign is different from the others because we really believe in what we're fighting for. We really believe in equality. We really believe in making sure that it's fairness across Essex County, and we really believe in delivering results, whether it's with our school system, whether it's with our senior services, whether it's through our social service department, whether it's through our law enforcement, whether it's just engineering, making sure that our roads are done correctly, that we have partnerships between the county and municipalities, the county and the residents. That's what this campaign is about. It's not about Marquis Sequoia. This is about true service to all Essex County residents.
Marquis, I don't know if you know, but you blacked out for a second. Do you realize that happened?
Oh no.
Yeah. So in the middle of
This
your
is about this is about true service to all Essex County residents. That's not afraid to do make bold decisions, and not afraid to deliver for all Essex County residents. This is what my campaign about. I'm not going to allow people to be blindsided by the endorsements because I believe my work speaks for itself.
We should have more time one day, Marquis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right after we win on Tuesday, all the time you want.
Well, Marquis, I'm sorry I joined late, but I do know of your work, and and as you say, you started from the bottom, now you're here, and I would love to see you in that seat and continue to do what you've done from the various seats that you set in, and to bring it to a county level and to bring it back to to local people. And while you won't owe many, you will owe the voters. So
that's right.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't vote. I don't owe the powers at the county though.
That's right. Yeah, you black.
And I hope
you blacked out.
Oh, he's gone.
Can you hear us, Marquis? Yeah, he's blacking out. Ed, you're on mute.
We've been having difficulty all night trying to get that interview done. Me and Josie been going out of two different conversations.
In and out.
So I don't know if this is his phone or exactly what it is, but they
there we go.
Marquis, I hope you answer my call when I call for an interview.
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
I hope you answer my call when I call for an interview.
Oh, I definitely will. I don't run for no fight.
Okay.
I was built for this.
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
I said I was built for this. I was speech and debate, champ at Arts High School.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not debating. I'm just posing questions that I think.
No.
Communicate. Yeah, no, I'm not debating. I'm just.
No, I'm always. Ready.
I'm always curious
ready.
because. Yeah, I'm always curious about the candidates because there's a sort of there are bullet points and everyone sort of shares them, right? And everyone, I say to young people, everyone's a social justice activist, and everyone's got a certificate for social justice activism because they sell them now at universities.
Yeah.
So those words are meaningless to what I'm trying to get at for community folks and folks who are readers and listeners of All Politics Local. Because how do we think critically about our vote, and how do we think critically about what we expect from our representatives, and how do we think critically about what makes a thriving city? And a thriving city should be one that's constructed by the imagination of community members.
I truly agree with that. 1,000%, right? And that's why I'm running. I'm running because the people in Essex County don't know who their commissioners are, right? They don't know what a commissioner is.
That's part of civics, right? That's part of civics.
They don't know. Yeah. They don't know who the commissioners is. They don't know what their job are. So I find myself at doors educating people on what. But
that's in a certain but that is only in parts of the community. When you were school board president, that's only in parts of the community in Newark that you will get that, right? So people do know. In other parts of Essex County, people know.
No.
So we want to change that, right? We want to change that.
I have begged to differ. I've been knocking on doors. I was in Milburn. I was in Maplewood. I just left West Orange. They didn't know what a commissioner was, right? They didn't know who the commissioner was. So I think the perception is that, an urban community, we don't know who our elected officials are.
No, I didn't say urban. I'm talking about when you were
telling you, I was
school
in
president.
West Orange. Yeah. These people, they don't know who they are. And that's why I'm running. This is not, something just for a title, but this is actually about getting work done for the residents.
It is a good title, Marquis. It is a good title.
Yeah.
And Mark, you're absolutely right because one of the things the mayor said early on the show when he was saying, we were talking about all these candidates running, He said the problem is that we don't have enough of us running in for different offices. That's going to be the benefit with you, Mark, because you educating people and they seeing that. Because the mayor said that all of these people running, because they only believe that the job that they can run for is either the city council or the mayor. They don't know all these other jobs exist. Why? Because folks that look like us don't hold those positions, have never been in those jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a benefit, Mark, for you, right?
Yeah.
You running, and now people can see, because people get a chance to ask you the question I asked you.
Mm-hmm.
What is a commissioner? What does a
Mm-hmm.
commissioner at large do, right? We don't even know what that is. So you're
Mm-hmm.
educated, and just by you being there, and then you giving them a lesson, Mark, because, and that brings me to my last question. Why don't you tell the folks, Mark, what is it about your biography, particularly your biography, Mark, that now that people can hear, what makes you more qualified than any of the other candidates?
Well, I'm more qualified because I ain't bored. That's one reason. The other reason why I'm more qualified because I'm not desperate. Right. This is the first time you saw a sitting governor endorse county candidates in the middle of a primary because they understand that there's change coming. Right. They understand that there's new energy coming. Right. And what also make me different is that I'm really passionate about this work, making change for my community. Right. I don't do it for the pay that's going to come with it. I don't do it just to be in the spotlight or in cameras. I do it because I've been doing it. I've been doing the work before I can remember. I probably was doing it in my mother's womb. That's how entrenched I am in it, right? And I serve on the school board. The school board is a thankless job. It's school board members don't get paid, but guess what? We are the most highly trained elected officials in the state of New Jersey. They train it on ethics, they train it on all finances, everything. We are the most trained one, right? I sat on the school board for 9 years, right? And then I didn't get a paycheck out of that. What I got out of that is I got to see kids graduate every year with a smile on their face. What I got to see out of that, I saw kids receive scholarships, right? What I got to see out of that is those same kids are coming back into this community. They're becoming teachers, right? They educating other kids. They becoming coaches. That's what I got out of that, right? So this is my commitment, and I've been doing it, right? The mayor talk about it all the time, that I don't like to promote myself or tell people the good I do. And that's my weakness, because I don't do it to brag about it. I do it because it's my lifestyle. And that's what I believe in doing. That's why I do it. And that's why I'm the best fit for the Essex County Commission, because I'm doing it because I'm going to wake up every morning passionate about changing the lives of the people that I serve each and every day. And not only I'm going to do that, but you're going to see me. I'm going to be in your face. I'm going to be in your community. I'm going to have meetings in your community. We take community outside. We can have a meeting on your block in different cities and talk about the issues that you face. And what's different, right, about me is now you hear all the candidates talking about this, a think tank. I was the first candidate to bring that up, right, in Caldwell. I'm the one that said we need to build a think tank to talk to residents across Essex County to find out what the real issues are and how we can, as elected officials, effectively help them, right? And you could tell how out of in the skies they are, because right now, even with this ICE situation, a property right next door to it is owned by the county. Residents have been yelling for the last 2 years about not having a proper space that has storage for families that's coming to help to visit their family members. And we have a property right next door. So why haven't a county commissioner propose that we use that property to put a storage there for families can come and visit their families in decency, right? So that's what's different. I'm thinking about things that can help our residents 365 days of the year, and if it's a leap year, it's 367.
I may need to get a young person with a camera to follow you around, Marquis.
Absolutely.
I'll call you after Tuesday.
All
Well,
right. No problem.
Donna, go ahead and ask him your question. But I'll say this, Mark. One of the things I hear from you and this is in your spiritual jacket. I hear servant leader talking. So I want to say congratulations, my brother, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Donna.
Well, Marquis, you're not new to this. You're true to this. So while you're doing that work, is there a hip hop artist, individual, or group that you listen to?
Well, I gotta listen sometime to my boy Kendrick Lamar, just to get me going. Sometimes I gotta listen to NBA YoungBoy, and then sometimes I just need to be spiritual, right? So I need to hear me some Marvin Sapp, some BB Winans, CC Winans. When I feel really moody, I gotta turn on me some Usher, and I just love music. That's my point. I'm a music head. I love music. Sometimes I need to hear some house music. I just love to hear music.
Well, hey, Mark, again, man, we just want to say thank you for coming through and sharing your piece with the people. And tell us when the election is and of course, what your position is on the ballot.
Yeah, the election is Tuesday. Open early voting have already started. You can go and vote early. But I'm actually going out and vote E2, Marquis Lewis, E2 on the ballot. I have teamed up with another young lady out in Maplewood, Deb Engel, who I feel like she has the same value as me, and she have been supporting me from the beginning. So it's E1 and E2. I'm E2 on the ballot, so make sure on June till you vote E2.
All right, my brother. Thank
All
you.
right. You got a little rhyme there. E2 vote. On June 2, vote E2. Okay, we got you.
All right, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, y'all. So, we do have other guests that's trying to pop in live, I guess from down at Delany Hall.
Yeah, so it looks like Ryan. Ryan, you at Delany Hall? Can you hear us, Ryan?
He doesn't know he's on mute.
Yeah. Ryan, we've been having a problem. Ryan, can you hear us?
Is he on mute?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he should be able to, he can't talk. Can you hear us?
He's stalled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Josie, two things is that, I'm going to reach, I mean, I go way back with Tish James, right? Before
So
she
you must have been in Brooklyn the same time I was in Brooklyn.
Yeah, before she actually got into politics,
Yeah.
she was heavily involved in the Black cultural movement in New York.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why when I'm hearing all of these things about her, I'm kind of shocked by it,
Well,
because if Bob Law was still alive, Bob would be shocked too. He would be like, "Wait a minute, that's not we need to call her now. We need to, because I've had some of these discussions."
Politics is strange, right? I mean, Barack Obama was a community activist in the grassroots community too. Politics is a strange place. We are. Oh, Ryan.
Ryan, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry about that. My phone was freaking out earlier.
Oh, that's okay.
Good to see everybody.
Good to see you, Ryan. So you coming to us live from down at Delany Hall?
I am. I'm actually not quite there yet. I'm just arriving by bus, so you can see the corner here. They got the state police blocking it off. I'm walking up there right now. So we got stuck in some traffic.
So I heard that the governor kind of put some parameters in place that said that the ICE folks couldn't do certain things in terms of attacking all of the folks who were down there protesting. Did you hear about that today?
What I heard from folks on the ground, so I'm about to walk up and see for myself what it's like, is that the governor was putting it sounded more like free speech zones where they were put in a specific area where you could be. They've already made it challenging for protesters because the street is blocked off there, as you just saw. So people who are protesting are going to have to walk 10 to 15 minutes to come in, and there's not really any place for them to park. So I've been coming down here by bus, so I don't have to deal with any of that. But I'm about to see what else they did. I think they were going to put up those like bicycle kind of locker railings around the place. And I've heard that they are sending ICE home, and it's actually going to be the state police blocking the facility at this point.
Okay. All right. So you're walking to, right. Is this your first night there, Ryan, or you've been there several nights?
Did my audio cut out?
No, we can hear you now. You were on mute. You're on mute now.
So, I don't know if you guys subscribe to Public Square Amplified, but they just sent out a newsletter.
Is it back yet or no?
Yeah, we can hear you. So if you
I
see,
can't hear you is the problem. Let me see.
now you can't hear us at all?
Try that. No? All right, let me reload this.
Can you hear me? Oh, he's gonna go in and out. What were you saying, Josie, about Public Square?
So Ryan's our in the field reporter. So we publish like reports from Ryan over the day, like the evenings. And if you look at our latest newsletter that went out today, it was about Ryan. Ryan reports in. So we're collecting these very raw observations from Ryan. And he sent, we have a slew of pictures in our newsletter over the week, because we're looking at when things really popped off, which was the hunger strike last Friday. And so it's been intense for the past week. Increase in numbers, increase in ICE showing up, increase in, there was somebody, and when Ryan comes on, he can talk more about this, but there was a member of POP who was targeted and grabbed and taken to a couple of towns over and then dropped off under a bridge by ICE. And then he had to make his way back, had to go to the hospital and then make his way back to Delany Hall. And so, of course, there are all sorts of legal issues, I'm sure, that he's addressing.
Yeah. Was that the gentleman that had the bruise on his shoulder?
I didn't see that one where I did. Yeah. And Ryan can talk more about that. But so you've got Pax Christi, the clergy that they've been there for almost a year, over a year they've been there. And so I know Ryan's been going there over that period, and so many others have been going there for some time. And they have, with this sort of, with the hunger strike that started last Friday, there've been calls to get other, so Ryan's back.
Okay. Ryan?
Yep.
Oh, okay. You can hear us now?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like the audio works for a little while and then it cuts out, but we'll see how long we get this time.
Yeah, maybe it could be your internet going in and out as well.
Yeah, my internet's good. It's just I see everybody's moving, but the sound goes away. So here, I'm walking up on it now. Okay. And you can see, hopefully pretty soon, you can see they've built this large, like, fenced-in area around the driveway where the protesters are. Let's see if I can go in a wider... Nah, it's better the other way. So they've built this fencing area around here, which is, I guess, to me, it looks like the real issue here is that they're blocking the movement of protesters, but they don't seem to be blocking the movement of anybody else. Maybe press too, but ICE agents seem to be able to come and go freely. So, I mean, to me, that's a problem.
Yeah, Josie was saying how you've been there.
Yeah, you could tell. Oh God, yeah. You've been there for a while, and you've started sort of sending observations back to Public Square, and so we're getting your raw observations and we're sending them out to the public, because I think what Ryan's tried to impress upon folks, and I think others like Kathy O'Leary and others, that we need more people to stand in solidarity with what's happening, and that immigration is not a separate issue from voting rights, from economic justice, from our fight for democracy. These issues are intertwined, and this issue of immigration, which is now at ground zero in Newark, we saw it play out in Minnesota. We've seen it play out across the country, and we knew it was coming to Newark because where there are detention centers, we will see explosion and clashes between those who are fighting for democracy and freedom and justice for everyone, particularly the oppressed, and power structures. And so we're seeing that clash, the demand for justice and demand for democracy versus the encroaching and consolidation of state power and the way in which it's being used. Ryan can weigh in, and now he's showing us the bars. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, I don't know. It's a crowd of, looks like maybe 100, 200 people here. The state police are everywhere. You can see these orange barricades are here. You can see this tank-looking thing, this Bearcat that they've got.
What's banging? What's banging?
There's a drummer nearby.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, it's not a cannon or anything.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of. I'll show you the rest of the facility if you haven't seen it. It's over here. You can see. Let me see if I put this sideways, will it be better? Yeah. So you can see here. This is up the road here, and that's the facility. The main gate is kind of over there. There's fewer people over there right now because that's not really where things have been happening. This has really been where all of the big confrontations have been. Yeah.
I think one of the concerns I've got, though, Ryan, is that the level of violence has sort of been increasing, right? And we have to be concerned because if you think about it, that's sort of how it started out around the country before the ICE agents started shooting and murdering people, right? So I think that we have to be concerned about that level of violence, and to know that the Trump administration is not doing anything to step in to quell that, and really ignoring all of the elected officials, because I think I saw when the governor went down there, they would not even let the governor in.
That's correct. She was not allowed in. She came here, as far as I understand, she came here, basically made a speech, was here for half an hour, something like that, and then left without being able to get in. Credit to where credit is due. Rob Menendez stood here for, I want to say, 15 hours or something like that. He got here at 8 o'clock. I want to say that was Friday night into Saturday, I think that was. He was here because Martin Soto was in here, and Gabriela Soto was helping to organize the protest outside the facility about what was going on and to lift up the hunger. And I want to point out labor strike. The labor strike is apparently bothering the facility far more than the hunger strike because nobody's cleaning toilets. I heard a report that the director has to clean the toilets in the facility, which, if there's any piece that's heartwarming in here, it's that, they're getting a taste of their own medicine. But he was here to see Martin Soto, and they transferred him out in the dead of night with Rob Menendez standing right over there by the gates, and they didn't even say anything to him about it. So he was there till 8 in the morning, maybe it was. I spoke to him about 4 in the morning, and the person he was here to see was whisked out of there by the powers that be without even telling him. Like, they knew for a fact that the person was not there anymore. He was just trying to get a picture of him, okay, or something like that. It's really shameful.
And let me ask you a question: the people that they're moving, do we know where they're moving them to?
That particular gentleman was moved to Elizabeth, the ICE facility there. There was a plane here yesterday that flew in the evening from Newark to Louisiana. I don't think we know whether there were detainees on that, but they've been threatening to move people who are participating in this strike, and they have said, or they were, Thursday, yesterday, they were actually beating people inside the facility. We got reports of it. If anybody was downtown, you heard sirens all afternoon. So it was, really upsetting stuff.
So right now, what with everyone out there that's protesting, I mean, what are they being listened to? Are they being given any access, or any other elected officials being allowed to come in? I mean, what's going on? Is it just that folks are just standing outside and just really in the fence and no one's doing anything or listening to anyone?
There have not been, to my knowledge, there haven't been any demands met here. The demands, just so everybody's aware of the striking folks inside, are that the elderly, sick, disabled, children, people who need medical care are released. Just have to watch around me because sometimes there's right-wingers who try to get you on camera or something like that. But they want those folks to be released, and they want the governor to come and meet with them. And I mean, understand the facility won't let them in, but I feel like there are a lot of people out here doing more than the governor is, and she's the governor of the state. She has more power than lots of these folks do.
You know, when we were down there with the mayor, and they had incarcerated the mayor down there, the mayor said that, the people who were detaining him actually said that they were willing to let him go if he could get everyone that was outside to leave. That doesn't seem to be happening here. I mean, you're saying no one coming out and willing to offer the folks who are out there, some sort of offer to say, okay, folks aren't being fed. If you all are willing to leave, we're willing to feed folks, or we're willing to make the facilities better. None of that is happening.
Well, again, that's not the demand. It's to release those specific groups of folks, the folks who are disabled or sick or needing medical care or elderly, and for the governor to come down. They did try to pull something whenever Andy Kim was down here, where he was trying to negotiate some kind of a situation where he was going to check all the cars to make sure they weren't transferring detainees, and he would have the protesters stand down. But right in the middle of that, ICE fired a bunch of pepper spray and backed everybody off and reneged on it. So I mean,
but wasn't the senator allowed to go in?
No, he was. Andy Kim, I don't recall whether he was allowed in. There was a senator or a representative from New York who was allowed in a couple of days ago, but I'm not sure that
our senator was not allowed in, but a New York senator was allowed in.
He may have gotten in at one point. I just don't recall for Andy Kim specifically. But one of the things I just want to, it's probably unclear. Originally, the demand was all of these things with the strike, that folks be released who are sick, elderly, children, etc., pregnant. But what turned this, when really amped it up, was when they started targeting folks who were part of the strike and threatening them with transfer to God knows where, and that's really when things started to kick off. So that's why there has been an effort to keep people from getting transferred, because it's a retaliation for the strike.
And so there's not one person who's actually talking to the people inside and negotiating. There's none of that going on.
Not as far as I'm aware. I don't think they are talking to anybody. In theory, these folks have to talk to somebody, but they're not reliably letting representatives in. And if one of them was here 15 hours trying to get in, it's not a great sign, right? This is in his district, Robin, I guess.
Wow. That's absolutely incredible, because if nobody's talking to nobody, and then you just have ICE coming out every now and then and getting violent with the people because they're getting frustrated, I mean, that's absolutely insane. And
it's not good.
No. And it would seem like to me that what we've got to do is, and I'm saying New Jersey, what we've got to do is sort of put the same kind of pressure on in New Jersey that other groups were putting on around the country. But what they had, though, if you remember, what they had was the violence was being, actually escalating. People were being killed. So yeah. I don't know if people are willing to put their bodies on the line to that point, because I saw a video where one guy was actually threatening to murder another black man. It was two black men were arguing, and I saw one guy who said that he would murder the gentleman that he was talking to. I don't know if
Yeah, that was a protester who was very angry, who was threatening a guard. That's not ideal, but I can understand where he's coming from, given the level of pain and suffering these people are inflicting. And I think you're right. I'm frankly shocked that nobody has been badly hurt here yet. Somebody was shoved into a tractor trailer and their foot went under the tire, but apparently they're okay somehow. So it's been right up to the line, I would say.
And Ryan, I'm sorry, and okay is relative. You mean he has a broken foot and he's going to live? You know what I'm saying?
Apparently not a broken leg even, somehow. That's what I'm hearing. Bruising and whatnot. I mean, it's probably not any fun to be run over by a tractor trailer, but given the circumstances, he could be a lot worse.
Right. Yeah, but it's still, and I don't know. I mean, that's a whole nother subject because, when you have damage like that, you don't, sometimes it doesn't even show, especially because you're in adrenaline every day. It really may not even manifest or whatever, but that's another show.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But just the whole, I guess I also, with the change in leadership over ICE, just hearing him talk about what's going on down in Delany Hall, it seems like there's no improvement in the leadership. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think with this administration, the cruelty is the point, and you're not going to see much of a difference. You're going to see people getting fed up with certain kinds of tactics and whatnot. We saw that little guy, Greg Bovino, get tossed out of office when things got too heated in Minneapolis. But it's not like you're going to put somebody good in there. It's about, being as cruel as possible to immigrants and allegedly trying to get them all out of the country. And I don't think anybody has any illusions that they're going to stop at legal immigrants, or undocumented immigrants. It's a threat to anybody, really.
And Ryan and Josie, and just to put a thought out there, and I know we're not talking about this today, I wonder what is the real goal? Because if the goal is about movement, meaning we bring the person who's not documented and we deem them not documented and we're going to remove him or them, the person. But why is there a need for all of these facilities if it's about movement? You know what I mean? So I think it's a lot bigger than movement and removing people. And that's probably the next story that we need to talk about, like what is really going on, and then also the numbers. And I guess that's something that you guys are dealing with also, because on the onset, this was about getting the worst of the worst. And we're looking at the numbers, and there's people that are showing up and doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of reporting, trying to do the process of becoming citizens. And those are the ones that are being locked up. And now has been this next change with the green card, that if you're applying for a green card, that you have to apply from, your country of origin. So all of these changes are, pretty challenging. And at the same time, it's about a selection of who they want as well, because it's not this person, but then they're inviting these people over to come. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, well, a statistic that's helpful, immigrants commit, and that includes undocumented immigrants, commit crimes at a far lower rate than the average population. And there's actually a press release that I don't remember whether I sent over, but it was from the folks in the Eyes on ICE coalition that included a letter from folks who were inside as part of that. And something that they said was the majority of us were picked up going to immigration hearings. There was one person there whose daughter and son were in the car while they smashed the window. They were in a car meeting with a lawyer, and they were pulled out. They were going through the legal process. It's not about that. And it's something I said earlier, you made a good point with the the facilities, why do they need all these facilities if they're just moving people around? Some of these new warehouses they're specifying, they have asked for there to be ovens in there to get rid of biohazard material. I mean, there are some other reasons that are less scary that you might need that, but that's really concerning, especially when other things are looking like a lead up to 1930s Germany.
Wow,
Yeah,
you said oven. Go ahead, Josie. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Oh, well, I mean, these are certainly we'll see what happens when the Supreme Court comes back with the birthright citizenship case, right? But we're seeing this rapid progression of more draconian immigration laws. We've had other presidents implement very stringent immigration laws. We can, one of the celebrated ones is Clinton, right? And Clinton in 1984 implemented quite egregious immigration laws. So, but in this particular instance, we're seeing this rapid progression of very stringent measures being placed against immigrants. And also the Supreme Court has sort of allowed racial discrimination in identifying or in detaining people. So that is another factor. And we've got, we have a sort of new methods of data collection and data tracking in the prison industrial complex that's being run by tech companies in ways in which people are being tracked. And, we have no idea what these sort of warehousing elements, what it will look like for civil society, right? What is a warehouse? What's the role of warehousing of human beings in civil society, especially in cities? Like, what's going to happen to state and city governments when they have no control over just swaths and swaths of housing and land being controlled by the federal government? So there's a lot of federalizing when in fact we know that the state holds all the power. And so I think we have to have a bigger conversation on how the state levies its power against the federal government. And I'm not sure that we talk enough about that. I'm not sure that we are engaging that conversation enough. I mean, Mikey Sherrill just signed a massive contract with NVIDIA. Let's unpack that contract. We see data centers are popping up. That's not disconnected from the warehousing of immigrants. So there's so much going on at this time where all of these things are interconnected. And we can't be distracted by these discrete instances, but we have to place them in context. We're talking about immigrants, but we're also not talking about enough. And Ryan can speak to this. Labor's on strike, right? And unions are outside in solidarity with labor on strike. And so, Ryan, I don't know if you want to speak more about that.
Are enough unions in solidarity?
What was that?
They are not. No, not enough unions are in solidarity, and not enough people in the unions that are.
Correct. SEIU and CWA maybe sent one or two people, but we also see this. We also see this on the streets when POP calls a rally, right? People's Organization for Progress. I mean, I wish we had a labor historian on, or somebody on the ground who's doing this work. I don't know where Margaret Stevens is. She would be a great one to have on, but we don't see enough labor folks showing up, right? I think the largest contingents of any union and any protest that I've gone to is the carpenters union, right? But they're not out there. But we've got to think about that. Where is that sort of solidarity, and how do we build that solidarity? I think it's going to be critical for us to bring Black and Latino white workers together, this coalition around workers' rights, and because the immigrants that are being held are immigrants who are workers. People are working. So this is a big labor. This is a big labor issue. We are losing members in unions. Work has become identified with one's person rather than work in the context of capitalism. And what is that costing workers? And we're struggling with, this whole sort of feudal, this new feudal tech economy that we're all slowly, like we're diving into, actually, or dancing into, I should say. There are lots of these things that we have to sort of wrestle with, and I think we're not wrestling enough with it. Unions should be on the front lines, not individual workers, unions,
Yeah.
leaders. There should be press conferences every day down at Delany Hall with the union heads. I mean, these are workers. These people have
I
built, part of building the economy and building companies. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I can say, so one of the things, my union and the Newark Library Union, which is a part of AFSCME, have been doing a monthly labor Eyes on Ice where we come down as a group. The last one, I believe we had about 50 people total, which is not enough, but it's growing every month that we do it. That's going to be on Sunday from 4 to 6. I don't know what things are going to look like here at that point. And there is some interest. We had a meeting today with some of our members, and they do seem interested in getting more involved with this as they're seeing what's happening on the ground. Another thing I want to say, Josie's point is excellent about people being workers and immigrants being in unions. I have folks for whom remote work, being able to work from home is important because they're afraid of getting picked up on the train. And they are legal immigrants, but they're afraid of their commute. I have folks who have emergency plans for their families. These are documented folks who are here, citizens who've been here for forever, decades, and are talking about what would happen if they got picked up and who would they call. That's certainly not normal for this country, and it's not who we say we are. It's who we say we are and who we are have not been the same thing, as I know everybody on this call knows, but it's a real problem.
You're muted, Ed. I know you're trying to ask him a question. You're muted.
Let me ask a question, because this came up early on in this when the mayor was down there. How much of this do you see, or if you see it at all, is racial? Because we don't see Black immigrants down there, right? Because they're just as subject to being removed from the country as well. So how much, particularly when you talk about Haitians, right? The level of racism and hatred that is targeted at that particular community. I mean, why don't we see more Black folks who are immigrants down there? Why do you think that is?
I can't really speak to that. I know that we saw in the candidates for mayor a couple of weeks ago that there are folks who seem to see it as an us versus them kind of thing. I've heard somebody refer to them as serving steak and lobster inside this place while Black folks are not getting taken care of. And I mean, I understand the history of this country and why that might be upsetting, but I think we can't have these divisions. As far as who's here, I would say it's people of pretty much every race, old, young, all sorts of folks here, and there are folks who are being very brave because I think they are at risk more than some of us who are coming down here, but they're still doing what they need to do.
And the reason I say that, Ryan, is because it looks very much like a Latino issue, right? As opposed to just an issue that involves other immigrants or immigrants in this country in particular.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're also not running around rounding up Canadians, as far as I know, right? So, I mean, this is definitely a racial thing, and I think, I don't know whether they're targeting Black immigrants more than other kinds of immigrants. I don't have a sense of like a population, percentage in there. I do know, I didn't say earlier, it was something like upwards of 80 to 90% of folks who are in this place have committed no kind of crime. It's just immigration-related stuff. So it's people who are working in restaurants. Martin Soto was picked up when he was going out and getting diapers for his kids. He's a resident of the country.
I met his
And
wife.
Ryan, I'm sorry, if we remember in Georgia, out at one of the car plants, there was a group of Asian immigrants that I think they kind of did like a raid on it. And the president, I'm not sure if it was Japan or China, flew into Georgia because they were there specifically because the training on how to build these cars, it was very specific. So they had been brought in to train local people from Georgia on how to do the work. and it was so what's the word? They were so insulted by it that the president came over, and we haven't heard anything about that group. But I remember that raid on that car plant in Georgia, and the president of that country came in because he was very insulted because it was a part of the contract. That was signed that they were sending these workers over here to train people on how to fix these cars, and then they, raided them up and put them all on a bus and everything.
Nobody should trust this country. I mean, that's the reality, and that's one of the things the folks also said in that letter. Is that so they're supposed to go home and apply for the rest of the process for citizenship? Who's going to believe that that's actually going to happen and that they're going to be let in? That's another scam.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm not, governments aren't the most trustworthy institutions because they are designed to protect land and wealth and borders. That's one piece, right? The other piece is, yes, Black immigrants are being detained, and they don't make up. They probably make up maybe 6 to 10% in detention centers, but they are being detained and they are facing abuse. If you were in New York City yesterday, you would see that NYPD shut down most of Canal Street to round up the immigrants who sell their wares along Canal Street. So. Black immigrants, of course, do face detention. If you looked at the videos of the courthouse in New York City,
Chicago, happened in Chicago.
Many Caribbean immigrants, Black Caribbean immigrants, being detained, being rounded up. So we see the larger numbers of Latinos being rounded up. They are more visible. They are more vulnerable. And so it's you can go into it's more accessible for them to sort of round up Latino immigrants in Newark, in New Jersey. You've got much larger. You don't have a large Haitian population in Newark or in New Jersey. You don't have large Black Caribbean or African populations in New Jersey. You do have large towns of Latinos, of immigrants, of Latinos who've been here for decades and entrenched in the community and building cities. So yes, you'll see that. But immigration is not a Latino or Black problem. Immigration is a problem of property and of power and of wealth and of land grabs, of colonization, of building empires. That is what immigration, we talk about immigration as building the country, but immigration is also very much part of how you build and sustain and consolidate empires. So whether it is on somebody else's land that you control, or you control the people who have immigrated into your country, immigration is simply, it's a tool of capitalism.
But Josie, I've got to say,
it's a racist tool of capitalism. Always racist.
Immigration, of course. I mean, when you talk about capitalism,
one of the attacks on the civil rights movement was a so-called question of quotas and affirmative action.
Yes.
The longest quota baggage in the legal history of this country is the quota of white majorities being the quotas that will be allowed into this country as immigrants, until this Black liberation movement had an impact on that legal apparatus in the late 1960s, right? And let us remember also that the only person to die in ICE custody at Delany Hall was a young Black man from IT named John Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah.
We face greater 28% higher rates of abuse that are black people, right? Black immigrants, and something that we may want to explore that is related to immigration and related economics is we might want to look at what's going on in agriculture and farmers and farm workers, and ways in which laws are changing to create these sort of detention centers on farms. So that's something we might want to explore in another episode of All Politics Local.
And we probably haven't seen the number of how many people that have volunteered just to go back as well.
Volunteer.
Well, one of the things they're doing in here is actually coercing people to sign paperwork that they don't understand for voluntary detention. So, you know, I don't know how many people are doing it of their own free will, but there is coercion going on in there. We've heard about that this week.
But you know, Josie, I wanted to bring up something that you said. You said earlier, you were talking about state power versus federal power, right? And that was the question when the mayor was there. Like, how much power does
Yeah.
the mayor have? You know, because this is in the city of Newark, and then how much power does the governor have
Right,
with this
yeah.
particular facility? And I don't really think that question has really been dealt with. Right?
No, I don't think we've wrestled with it. I don't think we've interrogated it. And I don't think in this particular climate, any governor wants to address it. Like, I really don't, right? We are sort of in a holding pattern. But there's a former congressman who will publish a book coming out soon, I don't know when, where he talks about the states as representing the fourth branch of power. But I think it's something for us that's civics, right? That's understanding government. How do you hold Congress? How do you hold your representatives accountable to laws? How do you hold your state representatives accountable to laws that will protect the people in your state, the residents and citizens of your state? I think it's something for us to, I think we should hold symposiums on. I think it's
not just that. Not just that. It's one of the points of challenge of where we're at right now. Let us remember that Mayor Rasbaraka was arrested.
Yes.
Doing his duty.
Yeah.
To on the question of safety and health regulations, because this thing is in the city of Newark, right? Mm-hmm. Let us recognize that LaMonica McIver is facing 17 years,
correct,
in prison for raising the same concerns as federal oversight, right? And you know, and there is a need to reaffirm the correctness of that, and to have local officials from these different communities, mm-hmm. Newark, Irvington, Bayonne, Jersey City, because folks are coming all over, in the protests. But our local electeds, our council persons, mm-hmm. right, should be passing resolutions.
Absolutely,
right, saying that we not only are we in solidarity with the people who are being inside, who are wrongly detained, and the communities that are being wrongly terrorized, but we also are going to uphold the standards that we are responsible for upholding, because that's mm-hmm. what put us in these chairs to be these representatives.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely correct, Zayid. There should be press conferences every single day. We should shame our elected officials. City council should hold press conferences. They should shame all of our elected officials, not to show up for an instant, but to be dedicated to protecting everyone in this city. We are going to sort of, there's the seething and acquiescing of power in a sense. And yes, we live in a country where it is an executive representative democracy. That's how I describe it. Our elected officials follow the lead of the head of the party and the president at the time. This is not unique to President Trump. This happened with President Obama, with President Biden, and with others. Elected officials look that way. They do not look to the voters. Voters.
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit about that, because I know that a lot of us did sanctuary city legislation, and we did do this at the first when this person was in office the first time, and many municipalities were on the ground, and it was done from a collaborative effort, and that's why you had so many sanctuary cities. However, unfortunately, you had this administration come back this time and was really punitive in terms of municipalities that and even states that were sanctuary that was sanctuary cities, states, and things of that nature. And if you there was I can't remember the pastor's name, Zayid, who I believe he ran for governor as well, and his church. He did a lot of work around, sanctuary protection, and now. And I know Governor Cheryl has floated the idea of not. I mean, it's a big idea of not sending, because this president is talking about the federal government can't handle it. And then I know she made a response, well, we shouldn't send our money down to the federal government. And that in itself probably would, because the system is so set up that the money goes directly from a paycheck to the federal government. But it has to be a little bit more creative. I mean, because this administration came out and they're doing a lot of things that pushes back on a lot of local governments and state governments in terms of, federal funding and things like that. A lot of things that they're doing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josie.
No, but it's sort of this. You consolidate more and more power as power is ceded, right? So you consolidate, especially if you're set up where, as an executive representative democracy, that happens. And sanctuary cities, they were just patches, right? We do lots of band-aids with community members, with residents, with citizens in cities. We do lots of band-aids. Invisible protest rallies are band-aids as well. They're not unlike
I think personally, I think there's a deficit of courage at almost all levels here, or creativity. I don't know whether it's one or both, because you got people out here who are putting themselves in front of trucks, and there's other folks who are unwilling to potentially lose funding for a city. I mean, I know that's a big deal, but we're one of the wealthiest states in the country. I think you can't have only one party who's bound by laws and expect that this is going to go anywhere good. It's.
But that's true.
This is a duopoly. It doesn't.
Ed, you're on mute.
But Ryan, that's exactly it, right? What Donna is saying. I think folks in other states and some elected officials, they are afraid. Let's not forget what Zayid just said. Congresswoman MacIver is still being prosecuted, right? And so we got people.
By the way, she showed up. She was there when I was there last Sunday, 7 months. She had gotten in the gate, I'm like, I want to get on the phone and tell her, you don't have to do that until your case is cleared, until you have this child, because they have no guardrails. They harm anybody and everybody.
Right.
They maced Andy Kim, right? They no regard. They shoved the man up under a truck, right? As a truck was moving.
Yeah. But these politicians need to get down here in shifts, to be honest.
Exactly.
Because these things happen when they're not here and when the media is not here, and that's almost every night.
And they can't just show up for a photo op. And then the national press comes, right? But they're not going to touch Congresswoman MacIver. They've already touched her. They're ready.
I'm gonna push back on that, Josie.
They're not going to touch her again.
Adult life trying to
they
get people out of prison who've been touched multiple times and have done decades in prison.
This is not the right time.
They will touch you.
This is not the right time to have a Black woman who's already on trial be touched, who's pregnant. It's not the right time. People understand optics and they understand politics and they understand power.
That's right.
They don't need to touch her. They'll touch Kim. They'll pepper spray him. They may even pepper spray the governor. It's one at a time. You want to intimidate as many people as possible. You can't just intimidate one person. So I don't think that they're going to touch a visibly pregnant woman that they already have in court.
But
even so, there are so many others.
And it's just not the physical, because they're still, taking a lot from her in other ways, and not just physically touching her financially, her, what it's costing her and everything.
Do you understand? This is costing families. So
I'm just saying that.
No, I know that absolutely, right? We're in an economy where the impact of what's happening in the past 6 months, right? The economy shifted completely. We're seeing numbers where working class people are spending less, they're eating less,
Right.
showing up less.
Yeah. Or making choices between this or that. You know, paying my electricity bill or pay for my insurance.
The 45% of the wealthy they're increasing their spending and all of it. So we're at a time where we can't separate people and we can't separate issues.
Mm-hmm.
To echo Ryan, to affirm Ryan's point, underscore Ryan's point, we need to see folks around the clock. We need folks to run. We need every activist organization. We need folks to show up. We need elected officials to show up, and not for the photo op, and not 5-10 of you coming out of an SUV in solidarity. Remember, we have pictures of Bernie Sanders doing it in the 60s. We have pictures of Adam Clayton Powell. Like Adam Clayton Powell, according to Professor Carter, is the last politician willing to die for his people, right? Where are folks showing up? Because if you believe in people's power and the vote, if you're tricked into thinking that, then you're going to show up because that's where your voters are. So something has to shift, and I'm not talking about the violence or the confrontation. I'm talking about the shift in the way in which we structure power, electoral power in this country, because something has to. States and cities must begin to shift inward, like back to their voters.
And let me ask you, I mean, because as I said, from a structural standpoint, systems are in place that you know how money comes, you know, whether it flows from a person's paychecks, right? From this goes to the state, this goes to the federal. What are some of the suggestions that you think that the states, like when I heard the governor say that we should stop sending money to the federal government, I was like, okay, but how do you see that happening with multiple states? Like, what do you suggest? Like, the governors get together and say, hey, for this quarter, we're not,
I have Mikey Sherrill explain what that means. Like, what does she mean by that? Like, break it down. I don't know what Mikey Sherrill means by that.
But I'm asking you, what is your suggestion? What is your suggestion? Like, if you had the governor's ear and you said, hey, because you said the states and the cities, what is it that you would say to council members? What is it that you would say to the county officials in terms of how, you know, it's like one you just said, you know, and I think you said the shift work is good, you know, just don't show up at every 6 people getting out of a SUV, maybe is 2 people at a time. So what are, like, financial, what are some of the things that you suggest that can be done that would maybe perhaps hinder this administration?
I have an answer to that.
Okay. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I would say at this moment, drawing attention to this, politicians have platforms, the media follows politicians follow the media, making this ubiquitous in the conversation these days. It's all over my social media, but I'm hearing that there are some folks who weren't even aware that this is happening. And I think getting things to the point where we're seeing 1,000 or more people out here on a regular basis, I think that's going to change the conversation. I don't know how far that'll go, but you know, this is in metropolitan area of what, like 12, 14, 15 million people or more. People need this to stop before this turns into something even worse. And the folks are here, you know, in this area, and they need to be out in the street. As you know, and I'm not saying people who are at serious risk should come down here. Somebody who's going to get arrested, there's no need for that. There's enough for the rest of us who are not at that kind of risk. But it's going to need to, the average person needs to be swayed at this point, I think. And as far as, you know, how do we withhold the money? I don't know. I'm sure the governor has folks who can tell her how to do that. I can't speak to that. I just know the money is here and we need it.
Okay.
Ryan, let me ask you this.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
basic to what's going on and why we have you here from where you are. What's happening on the ground now? Nightfall has just come. What's I was there last over the weekend.
Yeah.
How does everything look right now? What's happening on the ground?
This is right now. It's largely peaceful. The ICE agents that were here are not here now. I mean, there's a handful of them. It's a few hundred protesters are here. The state police are here and have these barricades. I don't know what the landscape looks like for the weekend and what this, how this situation, I don't know whether there's going to be continued escalation. I don't know what happens if ICE tries to move people in or out of here. Are the state police going to protect them? That's what ICE was doing in the past, which in my mind, that would make them complicit with the federal government. I also wanted to say, by the way, I don't know if somebody mentioned the wind's changing. The wind in this place is constantly blowing in horrific smells from either the waste treatment plant or the river, or I think there's a tannery down here. And I was showing this before, but there's an energy transfer petroleum plant right across the street. So on top of all the other things that these folks are being subjected to, it's the constant environmental hazard. So I mean that goes for the protesters too, but I'm talking about the folks that are inside the facility. They tucked this thing out of the way and stuck these people here, and they're suffering every which way.
Yeah, and Delany, and that's the other. Delany Hall is not as far as the other prison, the other county jail, but I know that area because of all of those things you just mentioned, Ryan, has always been an issue about putting people down there in those facilities. But
yep,
again,
the county jail's right next door.
Yeah, and that's what Mayor Baraka was actually saying, because I don't think to this day, he just put out a notice the other day that they still have not been allowed to come in and do inspections. Yeah. So those are some of the things that, the federal government, they haven't allowed. And I think the governor couldn't even get the state inspectors in.
That's right. They were only able to see like public areas. And, the reason that there was an escape was because they put up flimsy walls that were not inspected, and those folks broke out of there before. Yeah, so, they talk about the chaos inside the facility. They're not even doing their own job properly.
Exactly.
We always put people who we deem, and by the way, we're all complicit in that. When we allow these, we throw people, there are throwaways in our society. People we don't want to see, they become invisible to us. Their voices are quieted, their faces are invisible. And we are all complicit in not looking. We don't look around. We don't want to look ahead. So we participate in that complicity. We don't show up. So it's somewhere in the backwoods. It's not interrupting our transportation and our access to and from what we need to do. So I think that happens, right? That's a way in which we sort of, that's a kind of ways in which society sort of gels itself, and that's about fear and intimidation. And going back to your point, I mean, two things. So we don't know, Ryan, I'm sure you don't know if they're going to be counter protesters tomorrow, what's going to happen tomorrow, because at some point we'll see counter protesters, and we don't know.
I've never been impressed with the number of counter protesters that show up anywhere.
Well, I mean, these seem waving forever for days.
Yeah.
We don't know, right? So there's always that.
They're very noisy keyboard warrior type folks that that don't seem to turn out. There have been some right-wing influencers here trying to expose people for doing the things that they are doing during the protests. There's other folks. Like, did you see the report today? Folks are saying, "Oh, who is this ACLU New Jersey and COSECHA and New Labor and Eyes on Ice? Where do these people get their funding?" A lot of these are organizations that have been doing social justice work for decades. It's just an absurd conspiracy.
And and the conversation around the financing, right, didn't just happen with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and that's something else we can sort of unpack. But going back to, because I know we're at the end, and going back to Donna's query, right? I mean, we should look at where we invest our pension funds. We should look at what corporations we're doing business with. That is, so how are we shoring up an industrial complex that is financing so much of what working class folks being squeezed by. And so that's something also for us to sort of look at.
Well, you all know we're out of time, so
Yes.
we want to definitely take the time to thank Ryan, and we appreciate all the great pictures he's been sending back, sort of to let people know what's going on the ground. So Ryan, we're eternally grateful to you for doing this live coverage for us tonight, just to give us a real clear picture of what it looks like down there. So thank you for being
Sure.
on the ground.
If I could just add too, these windows up here that you're seeing in the image I have here, there have been, while the protesters have been here, there have been periodically people appearing at the windows, making heart gestures. One of them stuck a heart on the window yesterday. They are communicating with us that this is making a difference. And so I think anybody who can come down here should. There are places that you can be that are safe that would add to the numbers. And if you can't, talk to anybody that you can think of that can bring attention to this and put the spotlight on it. There's one of these masked villains over here.
Let me just say one thing, last thing too. There's a gentleman, I think you highlighted a comment from him. So Public Square, we have recruited Ryan to be a reporter on the field for us, and we are publishing his raw observations and his pictures. And we sent out a newsletter today with a whole collage of his pictures, and we've got some of his video. And I want to just publicly thank Ryan for allowing me to wrangle him into being a protester and somebody reporting from the field. And so for us at Public Square, when we say we center the activist voice in its rawness, Ryan is that person. And so Ryan is our reporter in the field. So thank you so much, Ryan.
Let me add to that, if I may, because Ryan is also the voice of labor.
Yes, he is. Yes.
A voice not there as it should be, but it's a principal voice of labor at this hunger and labor strike.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And again, if you know folks who are in a labor union, 4 to 6 on Sunday, get them down here and they can protest this place with us.
Right on.
And Josie, you said that if people sign up to Public Square Amplified, they can get. Go ahead. I'm sorry. How do they do that?
Thank you so much, Donna. And let me say, I really appreciate All Politics Local allowing Public Square into this space often. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Zayid. And of course, my sister, Donna. Thank you all so much. So you can go to publicsq.org, publicsq.org, to check out Ryan's photographs, to check out our other stories. We'll actually have a young reporter joining us on the ground at Delany Hall to do coverage, and and some others. So yeah, thanks, Donna.
Well, Josie, let me just interject. Let me just say, Josie, we thank you family, and so you saying you family, so we ain't even worried about that. All you part of All Politics are Local.
Thank you.
You're family. And listen, I agree with everything you said about Ryan. I mean, these are incredible shots, and we're gonna do something by continuing to publish his pictures out there and just let people see what this place looks like. So thank you again, Ryan. And do
you mind if I add one more thing?
Okay.
Yeah, there is this shelter over here that you can see. They've removed the bleachers from it, which is when there was visitation going on. So they've canceled visitation until further notice in retaliation for both the strike and the protest. Before this was here, families were given basically these plastic construction barricades to sit on only. So that's what the Eyes on Ice group in large part has been doing, giving folks chairs, umbrellas, places to sit, and clothing to meet the dress codes, because they're constantly rotating dress codes too, so that people don't meet them and they get to the gate and they're turned away. And if not for that group doing that, folks would not get in to see their relatives. So it's cruelty on every level. People out here in the rain, snow, sun, against a fence in a lightning storm. That's how they're treating the people who are visiting their families.
So thank you, Ryan. Ed, before you close out, I did want to say that Ryan and Josie, if you have a flyer for the clarion call to labor to be there from 4 to 6 on Sunday, if you have a flyer that we can put up on All Politics or Local, please get it to Zayid so we can put it up on the page. And then I want to remind everybody that New Jersey's primary is this Tuesday. The voting polls open at 6 o'clock a.m. and they close at 8. Early voting is on the way, which means that you can make your way to the early voting polls and vote up until Sunday. And we all see that voting has consequences. Please get out and vote. Ed, I believe you thanked Marquis already, our guest who's running for county commissioner, and his line number is E2. And so please get out and vote on, and you will also be voting for congressional members, our county exec. You will be voting all the way down ballot to county committee members. So get prepared, get your ballot out, go online and see if you need a sample ballot. But there will be a lot to vote on Tuesday. So get out and vote.
Annell Lopez, by the way, has been showing up on the regular.
Thank those two ladies who were on first. I mean, that was a spectacular segment.
Oh, that was a powerful, yes. Yeah, Evangeline Byers,
The D-Theft
Coalition, and D-Theft survivor, Carmela Carrington, the People's Republic of Brooklyn, turning the volume all the way up against some really ugly, blood-sucking landlords for real. But I also wanted to lift up Congresswoman Annell Lopez, who's been showing up regular, out loud, ain't been in Congress but 2 minutes. She's up on that June 2nd election. I'm plugging her, right? I'm plugging her because she comes from the kind of left that we're talking about. So straight ahead. So somebody got to ask Ryan, did he leave? Somebody got to ask Ryan the question.
Hey, Ryan?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, when you're out there doing the work that you do, is there a hip hop artist, individual, or group that you listen to?
I haven't been listening to any music out here because my battery is mostly going to communication and whatnot. But I will tell you, I do enjoy Lupe Fiasco's political pieces, Prisoner 1 and 2. My girlfriend mentioned me that you were asking this question to people, so I thought about it in advance. Also, My Petition by Jill Scott. And I'm trying to think of the third one, maybe Lupe Fiasco, Words I Didn't Say. He's done a lot of great political tracks.
All right, and shout out to your girlfriend who's preparing you.
She's like, careful, they're going to ask you a hip hop question. I was like, I have answers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And
Hold on a second, Donna. Josie, how is Brian doing?
Excuse me, sir.
What now?
This is not you, Ryan. How is Brian Branch, your photographer, doing?
He's walking around with a walker. He was just featured at Photoville. We got him an intern to make sure that he can keep working. But he's hanging in there. He's come a long way. He didn't expect to walk again. But he is up. He's back home, and he's in a walker and a wheelchair, and he's trying to do his work. So shout out to Brian Branch Price. Thank you so much for asking. He will be so pleased. Thank you.
All right, y'all. There it is. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to All Politics Are Local tonight. We hope you enjoyed the show. I want to thank all of the hosts tonight. I want to thank you all for your participation, and really want to give a big up to Ryan, and just say, man, again, be safe out there, and thank you so much for the pictures, man. Right.
And thank you for putting a spotlight on this and giving so much time to it, because the national news is sometimes giving you 10 seconds to say what you need to say, and this is an important conversation.
Yep, we agree with you. All right, y'all. Brother Zayid like to say, we're catching where, Zay?
Well, we're going to catch him in the whirlwind, and I want to lift up my big sister, Sada Shakur, because we're memorializing her tomorrow with her family in the village of Harlem, right?
That's right.
Yes.
The whirlwind now, too.
And that
That's
takes
on Riverside. That's Riverside Drive, right?
Riverside,
Yeah.
and it starts at 3 o'clock.
Doors
Yeah.
open at 3. It's gonna start at 4 sharp. If you ain't
Yeah.
on time, you ain't making registration, you ain't getting in.
Uh,
No, you don't have to register anymore. They stopped that.
You go
All
ahead
is
and
welcome. Well, I was listening today. All are welcome.
Okay.
all right, y'all.
Okay.
We'll see y'all later.
Thank you.
Stop.
And I don't.